The Major League Soccer season is going to officially end today. It is MLS Cup, a full season of play coming down to this. NYCFC versus the Portland Timbers in Providence Park, Portland, Oregon. And guys, I have a special guest today, and we are coming to you live for a watch-along party. Let's get started. What's up, guys? It's Brian McDonough, and this is State of Soccer. And today I have a very special guest, a play-by-play broadcaster, Josh Sperber. Josh, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Brian. Excited to be on the team.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here today, Josh. And why don't you kind of give your background real quick, and then we'll run right into the pre-match show.
Yeah, well, this is not my first experience with New York City FC. Growing up about 30 minutes from Yankee Stadium, I worked for New York City FC, not in the broadcast department, kind of the game day operations side of things. So I'm definitely excited to see my hometown team in their first MLS Cup. I worked with the Cosmos as well, so there's some Portland Timbers connections, as Giovanni Savarese, the Timbers manager, was the manager of the Cosmos when I was working there back in the 2017 season. So just basically it's a New York battle, and I'm here to call it.
So, Josh, we're excited to have you on board today. And, guys, this is a really anticipated MLS Cup final. Some drama in the semifinal with NYCFC Philadelphia, COVID restrictions, but all that's in the past now. And today it's a blank slate. NYCFC versus Portland. Josh, I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to run into the starting lineups. First things first, it looks like Portland is a 4-2-3-1. Why don't you run us through the starting lineup for Portland Timbers?
Each side coming with the same formation. We're going to get more into that as the match starts. In goal, it's Steve Clark, and he has been a wall for Portland. 2 straight clean sheets, and he has allowed just 1 goal in all of the MLS Cup playoffs so far in the 3 matches. He's got 4 in front of him, 2 on each side, and the fullbacks are going to be Jose Carlos Van Rankin and Claudio Bravo, Dario Zaparic, and Lauriz Mabiala. Very experienced guys in the center of the park for the Portland Timbers. In the midfield, it's pretty standard, but one change from the conference final or the conference finals. That's George Fochive, the UConn graduate, Washington, D.C. Is where he is from. He is making his first start in the MLS Cup, joined by, of course, the captain in Diego Chara, who's been with Portland from the beginning. Since 2011, Diego Chara has been in the middle of the park for the Portland Timbers. Daron Asparillo and Yimi Chara and Sebastian Blanco are kind of the attacking midfielders to make space for Felipe Mora. The big striker leads the team with 11 goals up front for Portland, and it's going to be Sebastian Blanco coming off the right side. That is a place that you're going to want to take a big look at during this match because Blanco is a certified playmaker for the Timbers.
That's exactly right, Josh. And what I'm most anticipating today is the Chara brothers stepping up in the midfield like we've seen all season long. Yimi Chara, of course, is brought in a little bit later than Diego Chara. But those 2 dynamic players in the midfield, I think, need to kind of set the tone for Portland Timbers, the team that I would say is expected to win this match. But Castellanos and NYCFC might have something to say about that. So, Josh, let's move on to the starting 11 for NYCFC here.
And while the formation does say 4-2-3-1 for New York City FC, that changes a lot. It's done so a little bit less under Ronnie Diala, but since the beginning, NYCFC has really ran a 4-3-3. So expect to see Medina and Santiago Rodriguez kind of push up towards the wing and morph that into a 4-3-3. The middle of the park should stay the same, though. Maxi Morales, of course, the designated player, about a $5 million man a couple years ago, and no one in the MLS has had more assists since Maxi Morales, since he joined the New York City FC in 2017. James Sands and another Morales, Alfredo Morales, are kind of back towards the defensive midfielders. I know you guys watch this channel quite a lot for U.S. soccer, and James Sands is a name you're going to want to remember. He played center back in that Gold Cup run, and he is turning into a stalwart in the back, a true number 6 for the United States, the NYCFC's first homegrown player. And then the 4 in the back, of course, Tavon Gray, Maxime Chanot, Alex Collins have played almost every minute. during the MLS Cup playoffs. But a change of the left back's position is Gudmundur Thorarensen. He is more of a midfielder, and this is something the NYCFC likes to do a lot. When they had Ben Sweat, who is with Austin FC, Nashville FC, he has been all over the MLS. He basically played as a midfielder. Think of Marcelo for Real Madrid, and that's what I think Thorarensen is going to do, really help push the game up that left wing. And really the back and the front for New York City FC is the big key. Sean Johnson has been great for the city in goal, top 5 in the MLS with just about 1 goal allowed this season, and under a goal allowed in the postseason. Both goalkeepers are playing great. And of course, the Golden Boot winner, Tati Castellanos up front, back after serving his red card suspension in the conference finals against Philadelphia.
So Josh, a moment ago, I just talked about, essentially the midfield for Portland Timbers in this specific lineup, the Chara brothers, but of course, Maxi Morales, James Sands, another 2 individuals that are going to be holding down the midfield for NYCFC. So this matchup specifically in the midfield, don't count out the other Morales as well, is what I am really anticipating to be a good one for NYCFC and Portland. And of course, Castellanos up top in the number 9 position against Mora. Castellanos obviously has the advantage there. But of course, we have Blanco out wide, the true number 10 for Portland as well. So there's a lot going on the offensive end, as well as, in the midfield. Let's touch upon the back 4 for both teams, because I think when it comes down to it, NYCFC had some struggles in the last match against Philadelphia, and kind of giving up a goal there. That was a little bit of a challenging play. But what are you expecting for the back 4 for NYCFC?
Well, for NYCFC, it's about Collins and Chanot just keeping everything solid, because these guys are just iron horses for New York City FC. They've both been with the team around since 2017, and you rarely see them outside of the match. Their keys on defense, just by holding it down in front of Sean Johnson. He's played with them since he has started. They have such great communication. They work so well together. But they're also both targets on corner kicks as well, if it gets to that point with set pieces. But really, for NYCFC, Collins and Chanot have to hold it down in the middle of the park. And the center backs is really where you see the experience growing for both of these teams. Claudio Bravo, Jose Carlos Van Rankin, they're both in their first or second season in the MLS. Tavon Gray is in his first season in the MLS. Gudmundur Thorarensen is a midfielder playing left back. I mean, there's so many moving parts from the fullbacks positions on each side that it's really about those center backs, especially for New York City FC, with the experience that Chanot and Collins have, both vice captains holding down that back line. That's where it's going to start defensively for New York City FC.
Now, Josh, we have a couple of minutes before the match starts. So what I want to do right now is kind of focus on Providence Park, the atmosphere that we can expect today in an MLS Cup Final, the first final ever in Portland. Tickets are going north of $700, I saw, which is absolutely absurd. A lot of angry members of, the Portland Timbers Army, they're kind of being priced out. But that being said, all this anticipation, what can you expect from the atmosphere in this MLS Cup Final today for NYCFC coming into hostile territory?
I mean, it's going to be difficult for them. This is a very young NYCFC team. Chanot and both the Moraleses are the only players above 30. Other than that, about half the starting lineup is under 25. It's a very young team for New York City FC. But this whole postseason, they've been reaching uncharted territory. They'd never been to a conference finals in their history. They did that. And they went to the conference finals, as I mentioned before, without the Golden Boot winner, without the shot leader in the entire MLS in Tati Castellanos. So they've proven that they're able to come through in big moments, but Portland is one of the more experienced sides in the MLS. Still 3 returning players from that 2015 championship, even if Diego Valeri will be starting off the bench. He was obviously crucial in that tie, but it's about the experience, and this is the 3rd MLS Cup that the majority of this Timbers team has experienced, but this is their first one at home. So I think they're really going to relish the support they have from Timbers Army. You're going to hear drums banging. You're going to hear loud fans on both sides, and I've got a couple of friends who are at this game right now, so you can bet that both sides are going to be very loud. These are 2 of the loudest, most supportive fan bases in the MLS. It's definitely going to make this final a lot more interesting.
And for anyone who's joining us who's unfamiliar with both of these teams, especially Portland and how they do things at Providence Park, whenever the Timbers do score a goal, there's a member of the Timbers Army named Portland Joey, or Timbers Joey, excuse me, who is a lumberjack who comes out, saws off a piece of a log, and displays it for every goal. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of Providence Park that hopefully we get to see today, Josh, in today's matchup. Well, Josh, it's a couple of minutes to start here, so let's get actual predictions. I want to start with you, then I'll give my predictions, and then we'll kind of wander our way into the match.
I mean, as I mentioned before, I've worked for New York City FC in the past. I still have some good friends who are working on the team. It's hard for me to pick against NYCFC, but at the same time, it's the Timbers in Providence Park. It's one of the toughest places to play in all of the MLS. I really want to pick NYCFC here, but for New York City, Tati Castellanos has to carry a large part of the load on offense. And I just think the Timbers are so much more balanced. They have playmakers in so many more parts of the field, and they have home field advantage for the first time in the 3 times they have been to this MLS Cup Final. I think it's going to be a very close game. We might even see some extra time, but I think the Timbers are going to edge it out 2-1.
I like that score line. What I'm interested to see here is how NYCFC comes into this match. Of course, their coach has some experience at Celtic, coaching in Scandinavia, some European football experience against Giovanni Savarese, who, of course, is going through more of the MLS US soccer ranks. That being said, these two coaches are experienced. They know how to prep for a big match. And I think it's going to be a close one, Josh. I really do. But at the end of the day, I can see Portland breaking off. I'm going to expect, very specific prediction here, Blanco to score a brace, and I expect Portland to win 3-1. But I think it'll be quite close through the duration of the match.
3-1 was that score the last time these two teams played in that MLS is Back tournament. That was one of the better matches of the whole tournament. We'll see if they can do that again.
So, Josh, a couple more things that I want to touch on today is, of course, this game being on the West Coast. Guys, you can watch along with us here for the duration of the match. In Eastern time right now, it'll be a 3 p.m. start. We're waiting for the game to kick off. West Coast, of course, 12 noon. I will be skipping out. My sister actually just had a child, Ronan Loughnane, so I'm excited about that. So I'm going to go meet Ronan for the first time, and Josh is going to be taking on the entire broadcast for us today, Josh. So kind of talk about, your style, a little bit more about your background, because you touched upon it before and what you've done with your career so far.
Yeah, well, I've done radio baseball for the better part of the last couple of months. I was the voice of soccer with Purdue Northwest University, both men's and women's over this last season. So I definitely have a lot of soccer experience. I've called games at the college level quite a bit for Division I, Division II as well. So I'm excited to put some MLS on the books. And I'm going to try and describe to you guys the game as much as possible, since if you're on this link, you're just going to see my face and some stats going across the board. But I'm going to try and give you the details of the game, try and explain what's going on as best as I can. But stick with it. It's going to be a very fun final.
And that's what we can expect today, a competitive final and a competitive game. And one thing I want to talk about is how MLS has grown abroad. The times I've traveled abroad, specifically to the UK, they do show these matches live. And this is a specific time where we're going to get a global audience for this match. So I would expect it to be broadcasted in, probably 20, 30 plus countries around the globe. And this is a great look for Major League Soccer. Two of its more well-known teams, of course, you have New York City FC, which there's rumors of all the time kind of spewing out there of players they're going to bring in. And then Portland, known for having one of the best fan bases in MLS. Can you kind of touch upon that, Josh, kind of the global aspect of this match and what this could do for Major League Soccer moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is on many channels. I've seen this build as the most highly anticipated. They're expecting this to be the biggest match in terms of views in the history of the MLS Cup playoff. A lot of people tuned in to the MLS Cups in the rounds leading up to this final. And it's really, you said it the best about the Portland Timbers. They have such a great fan base. They're consistently at the top of the league. And with New York City FC, their first 3 designated players are 3 of the biggest soccer icons in this century. David Villa, Frank Lampard, Andrea Pirlo were 3 of the first players that New York City FC brought in. Villa is the leading scorer all time in Spain, still NYCFC's leading scorer. Andrea Pirlo helped lead Italy to that 2006 World Cup, and Frank Lampard made Chelsea the juggernaut of soccer that it is today. He was a big part of that, and that's the kind of thing you can expect from New York City FC. You know, bright lights, big city in New York. NYCFC fills that with soccer talent and makes Yankee Stadium a fun place to watch the game. But those fans, like any New York fans, will travel heavy on the road as well.
And that's the thing. This is NYCFC's opportunity to kind of move away for that Manchester City, younger brother type, reputation that they have right now. I mean, I saw Pep Guardiola in an interview with Man City, and of course, Man City being part of that, parent company to NYCFC, but he has aspirations of potentially coaching NYCFC in the future. Josh, I don't know if you heard this, but the guy loves New York. He spent a lot of his time, I think, in 2013 after he coached Barcelona before he took the Bayern Munich job. He actually spent a full gap year in New York. So he's going to be tuning in. There's going to be a European audience tuning in, as well as, all of our friends and foes in CONCACAF. So this is a premier match for Major League Soccer on ABC today in just moments. Josh, anything else you want to touch upon today for today's match?
I mean, just going off of that, I remember when I worked at NYCFC, I started following Manchester City because they were involved with New York City FC. I met a couple people who worked high up in that front office for Manchester City. You see Man City players, Pep Guardiola himself, a lot of guys, they kind of go to the Man City players come to New York City's FC's training facility sometimes. So it's very interactive in the same ownership group in ways that a lot of soccer teams that share owners are not. So it's definitely going to be popular in England. Pep himself said he's going to be following this match and rooting heavily for New York City FC.
That's exactly right. And guys, any minute we're going to kick off here. Typically with these matches, you never know when they're going to start because, of course, there's a simultaneous pregame show going on right now on ABC. But that being said, we're going to be here every step of the way for today's MLS Cup Final. Josh will be, doing the broadcast live today. So please comment, please subscribe, smash that like. Let's push this out to as many people as possible because today's play-by-play is going to be great. And we're really, really excited to bring it to you. So I want to hear from you guys. Where are you tuning in from? Where are you watching from? What are your predictions? Leave a comment below. For anyone watching right now, what are you looking forward to most with this match? Let's check in here, Josh. Let's see when this game is going to kick off right now. It's 3:15. We were projected kind of, when I was talking to Josh before the game, or before, this pregame show, we were saying 3:15, 3:20, but you never know. And the suspense is killing us right now because
it is.
I am really looking forward to watching this one.
And I think part of the issue, if you have ABC on right now, you're watching the UConn versus UCLA women's basketball game. That just wrapped up. And they're trying to make this, because of the huge anticipation for this cup final, they're trying to make this as much of a live feel as possible. So that match should be starting any moment on ABC. But, I mean, you never know with any kind of live production. As I always like to say, I've been around broadcasting production for a long time. It's not a live production if something doesn't go wrong. And right now, bit of delays in Providence Park, but they're definitely looking to get this matchup started soon. I know this is something I've been looking forward to all week, Brian.
So, Josh, I'm in the mind of the players here. They're out. They're getting ready. I don't know. Let's check on the temperature, actually, in Portland, because I know that Portland is known for rain. Typically, the rain comes in from the Pacific over the Cascadian Mountains and into Portland. So I don't know what the weather is like today, Josh. I'm going to check on that. That might actually play a factor because there is turf at Providence Park. It is not natural grass. So that can sometimes get slick. We are looking at wind and rain in Portland, 47 degrees Fahrenheit. So exactly a perfect Portland afternoon, and something that could play into the favor of Portland. Do you think this weather could play in their favor?
I think it's possible because NYCFC plays on grass. They haven't even been playing on their own stadium this year. They've been playing up in Harrison, New Jersey at the home of the Red Bulls because of the COVID restrictions, as they currently share their stadium with the New York Yankees. But, Portland plays a lot more games in the rain than NYC does, and that's something that could play a factor. But for both teams, I think both these teams like to play more controlled football. I think in terms of pace of play, Portland goes a little bit faster because they're on the lower end in terms of times of possession compared to the rest of the MLS, which means they like to quick strike when they can get the ball. And with the ball moving further forward a lot quicker, when Portland tries to send those long balls over the defense, that could be made a little bit more difficult for the Timbers and a bit easier for the veteran goalkeeper and veteran back line of Sean Johnson and his crew at New York City FC. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the coaches change everything up to deal with the rain.
Now, Josh, another thing that we have to deal with today is sometimes MLS referees kind of potentially get in the way of a fixture of a match. Well, today we have Armando Villarreal, who is a MLS veteran, one of the better referees in Major League Soccer. I kind of pulling up his background, and it looks like he's done MLS Cup playoffs before. He has done US Open Cup Final in 2014, USL Cup Final, CONCACAF Gold Cup. What could you expect today from the referees?
It's something, honestly, the whole playoffs, you've not seen a lot of bad calls. There's been really good refereeing throughout the MLS Cup playoff, and I think today is going to be no different. You want an experienced referee, a guy who's reffed big games, knows these intense situations, understands how loud the fans are going to be, and it's not really going to play a factor with him. So I think it's definitely going to be reffed fair. I don't think we should expect anything too crazy from the refereeing standpoint because – we're all sports fans here. You never want to see a game that's influenced by the referees. But with the experience that we have at Providence Park today, I don't think that's going to be a factor.
He also did the Copa America Centenario in 2016. So he's done the biggest fixtures that American soccer has hosted. And this is another one today in the MLS Cup Final 2021. Now, Josh, both of these teams were 4 seeds coming into the playoffs. So we are not really seeing the Supporter Shield champions, New England. We are not seeing Seattle. We are not seeing the typical teams make it to the final. You could say Portland in the past is, they've had a very good past decade. But this is the great thing about U.S. soccer. This is the great thing about MLS is any team can make it in these playoffs, not only the Supporter Shield champions. What do you think of these playoffs so far? Whoa.
It's just been interesting. And I'm really, as you've said, at the crux of that have been in these matchups right here. Obviously, the two teams in the championship are at the center of it all in terms of the playoff matchup. But you look at the guys that these teams defeated. We're going to start with Portland. They, in the first round, beat Minnesota United, one of the newer teams in the MLS. That was kind of expected. Mm-hmm. NYC ran over a pretty hobbled up Atlanta United team. But in the second round is where it started to get very interesting as both of these 4 seeds upset the number ones. A 90-minute winner by Larry's Mabiala ended things for the Portland Timbers, and they did get a red card late, and a similar thing happened in the Eastern Conference semifinals as New York City FC, Tati Castellanos earned his brace in the 113th minute of that conference semifinal. And a couple minutes later, he was out with a red card, and New England responded by sending it into PKs. But then Sean Johnson, dominant behind the net, stopped 2 more goals. NYCFC went 5 for 5 to advance to their first ever conference final, beating the heavily favored in terms of title odds New England Revolution, the Supporter Shield winners. They had the MVP, Carlos Gil, on their team as well. So a lot of shakeups. And then it was in the conference finals, it was just a run over by the Timbers against the Cinderella darling, which was Real Salt Lake, the number 7 seed, one of the lowest MLS seeds to make it to a conference final. And New York City FC, a great win, late heroics from Tyus Magno in the 88th minute over the number 2 seed Philadelphia Union. So the Timbers, the Western Conference was really wide open this year. That was something that everyone anticipated coming into the Cup. But NYCFC beat arguably the 2 best teams in the league and route to the final here. So it just shows that anything can happen, as you said, in the MLS Cup playoffs, and we're expecting a lot more of anything here today.
And that's right, Josh. For any of you guys listening right now, for any of you tuning in, once again, just to rehash, this is State of Soccer. I'm Brian McDonough alongside Josh Sperber. Game is about to kick off in Providence Park in Portland for the MLS Cup Final 2021. Whoever's listening now, we have quite a few listeners. Please drop us a comment. Let us know what are your predictions. Interact with us, because that's kind of how we want to go through this broadcast today. We want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your predictions. What do you think of the match? What do you think are the keys to the game, Josh? And I want to ask you, Josh, what do you think really truly are the keys to the game if you had to pinpoint one thing?
It's really just about getting these attacking options forward. We've talked a lot about the options all over the park that Portland has, with Blanco coming out wide, the Chara brothers, their connection in the middle of the park. Portland really has to get that quick strike offense working and just control the game in a limited time that they usually get possession. And NYCFC really plays the opposite. You see them play out of the back quite a lot. They average just about 60% of possession time in their games. That's top 10 in the entire MLS. But what they need to do is just let Tati Castellanos loose. You have the Chara brothers doing a lot of work in the middle of the park. For Portland, for NYCFC, it's that Argentinian connection. Maxi Morales, Tati Castellanos getting things done on the offensive end. Tati making those long runs. He's looked like a true number 9 for New York City FC. Most shots on target, tied for the most goals with Ola Kamara among anyone in the MLS. So they really have to get that working, and Portland needs to take advantage of the opportunities that they get.
And guys, this match is going to be extremely close. Vegas odds are essentially the exact same here. So I want to hear from you. Who are you projecting to win? Did you put some money? Did you put some action on this game? I'm interested in that as well. That's always interesting. And I'm sure there's a lot of international viewers tuning in, and they're asking that exact question. Who's going to come up big tonight? And if I had to guess, I think it's going to be Blanco. I think that Sebastian Blanco for Portland Timbers is going to come up big tonight. I specifically think he'll score a goal or two, notch a couple in the back of the net here, and push Portland towards victory. Now, one thing that I'm curious about is if Dahlia will play more of a defensive focus going into this game. Of course, maintaining possession. Josh, when you're the away team in a cup final in a hostile environment, it's all about ball possession. It's all about that first 15 to 20 minutes really controlling the tempo. And if NYCFC can do that, then I think they really have a good opportunity to put up a fight here, or at least keep things quite even going into the first half, which is crucial if they want a chance of winning in Portland.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons I talked about that left back change. It had been Malte Amundsen for the entirety of the match, or the matches leading up to this cup final. But I think putting Terarensen at that left back position, it allows a better dribbler to come into the New York City FC lineup, and allows them to do a little bit more pushing up from that left back position. And it just gives NYC a chance to sustain possession a bit more. So I think that's one of the ways that I agree with you that Dahlia is going to go a little bit more defensive. And you have to, I can't talk enough about the amount of attacking options that Portland has, and Blanco out wide. It's really going to be Blanco matching up against Terarensen, which is one of the key matchups from my point of view in this cup final.
Now we have our first comment, Asperb693. Thank you for tuning in from New York. I'm assuming there's a lot of New York individuals watching right now. He's predicting City to win 2-1 in today's match, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comment there. We want to hear from more of you guys. Josh, you have a smile on your face. Is that someone you know?
Maybe. Good to see my brothers tuning in from back home in New York. But I know he's rooting for City. I know as I said, a bunch of people I know are at the Hammerstein Ballroom watching this with the whole NYCFC gang. So it's New York City's in New York. I'm sure it is absolutely bumping, because the state of New York has not won a title since the Giants beat the Patriots back in 2012. NYCFC looking to change that tune a little bit.
And let's talk about that a little bit. NYCFC's relationship with the Yankees, the most successful club in Major League Baseball. I believe, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they have 27 World Series titles. Yes, 27 World Series titles for the Yankees. Of course, the majority of those, running into the early 2000s, a couple that they've knocked off recently. I think the last one is 2009.
Yep.
That against the Phillies, unfortunately. I'm here in Philadelphia. But the Yankees, being that parent, team, having that relationship with NYCFC, that instilling that winning culture in Manchester City. Are we going to see NYCFC advance further and further? Will this become quite common, their appearance in today's MLS Cup for, seasons in the future, if you had to guess?
I mean, that's really how it's been for New York City FC. Their first 2 years, they didn't make the playoffs. I was at the second leg of the final against eventual Cup champions Toronto FC back in 2016, the year after the Timbers won their first MLS Cup. That match was just a 5-0 absolute dominant performance by Toronto FC, the team up north, over New York City FC. And since then, it's just been getting slightly better and better. The year after that, my first year working with New York City, it was Pirlo's last season, and the Crew got out to a big lead, I believe, on Halloween, and New York City was a goal away from advancing, ripping through the Crew at Yankee Stadium, almost winning the second leg. But obviously the playoffs have changed a bit since then. Since really the MLS is back tournament, NYC has started to get a little bit further. Portland, the team that defeated NYC back in 2020 during the tournament on the campus of Disney World. And it's been since then. Ronnie Dyla has been a big part of this. Playoff wins in the last two playoffs before this year, and now they're in uncharted territory. The MLS Cup Final, Eastern Conference champs for the first time, beating the top 2 seeds en route to Providence Park here. And they just want to take that last step. And just looking at the way NYC has been playing, they just look hungrier than just about any team in the playoffs. They just do not want to lose. They have the willpower to take it further, and that is something that they're going to need in hostile Providence Park today.
Josh, we have another comment in from Chicky Brewer, one of the original subscribers to State of Soccer. I'd say one of our biggest supporters out there. Chicky, welcome to today's broadcast. She has a 5-3 scoreline. A lot of goals. In a world where soccer is still on the doorstep of being huge here in the United States and it's growing year after year, 5-3 would be quite the scoreline for any casual fans tuning in. So I got to say, I'd be excited to see a 5-3 scoreline as well. I think it's more likely we see, a more highly contested, 2-1, 3-1, 1-1, maybe go into penalties or extra time match. But 5-3, nothing's off the table, Josh. Especially in a league like MLS, anything can happen, which makes this league so much fun to watch for anyone who's new tuning in.
And if I'm correct, I believe 5-3 would be a Cup Final record in terms of combined goals scored.
Yeah.
And that is something that made the MLS such a draw. But the fact that there has just been such an influx of talent, starting with, in my opinion, NYCFC played a big role in the influx of talent, because that's when a lot of the big designated players started coming on. You had Beckham in the early 2000s. That's when people started to take notice. But then the league kept growing after that. New York City FC brought 3 of the biggest soccer icons following Beckham of this century. And it's really been in the last 5 or 6 years that the talent in MLS has grown and grown and grown. You're seeing guys going for 8-9 digits, Miguel Almiron a couple of years back going to Newcastle for $26 million. Daryl DK going to Fulham, who is always up and down between the second and first league of the Premier League. There's so much talent in the MLS. Alphonso Davies, one that probably should have been the first guy mentioned. He came from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and now he is arguably the best fullback on the planet. So there is so much talent in the MLS. So many of these guys so many guys that started in the MLS are in Europe's top leagues now. And this could be kind of the next big jump for American soccer. We've seen it on the national stage, and it's definitely something I'm going to touch on during the game today. But at the league level, this could be huge for American soccer in a really, really exciting matchup in the MLS Cup.
That's exactly right, Josh. And just today on the field alone, Tati Castellanos, being from Argentina, playing in the Argentinian First Division Premier League. Maxi Morales, I believe, is Costa Rican international, a player who has played fantastic on the international stage. And then you switch over, and this back four specifically, Chanot, Thorarensen, Portland, Sebastian Blanco, the Chara brothers, Mora, Aspria, Bravo, tons of players, international players on the scene here in MLS, continuing to grow, and Major League Soccer more or less kind of turning to South American talent. where in the past, Major League Soccer has brought in aging European players, of course, those who have quality, Pirlo, David Villa, especially via Lampard for NYCFC and many, many more. But now these South American players getting thrusted into MLS and playing very, very well at young ages too. We're seeing 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. Can you talk about NYCFC's recent signing of a Brazilian potential, one of the highest rated young players out of Brazil?
Yeah, Thiago Andrade, a guy who was kind of battling injuries a little bit this year. He is another guy who could be big. He's a young Brazilian player. Brazil with such a rich history in soccer. I mean, we could spend this entire broadcast talking about the great names that have played for Brazil over the years. And Thiago Andrade, one of their exciting prospects coming up in the Fluminense system. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. A guy who's played with Bahia in that first division of Brazil this year. And the Premier League in Brazil is really a beacon for young talent of just the top quality Brazilian players. And those are the guys that are starting to come to the MLS now. You're seeing these designated players coming to the MLS, getting younger and younger every year. Jesus Medina was 21. A young designated player. Andrade was an $8 million signing out of Brazil. Thais Magno, even an $8 million transfer fee. And that's barely cracking the top 20 for the most in the MLS in terms of these designated players. Polito for Sporting Kansas City. The list goes on and on of the young talent, specifically in Latin America, because they see the quality of the MLS. Recently, in these CONCACAF, these Nations Cups, and these domestic championships, it had been Mexico just winning year after year. And the U.S. teams, the MLS teams, have been just inching forward and forward. You've seen the 2-0 results on the national level, and you're seeing the results now in those domestic leagues with the U.S. starting to gain an edge on those Mexican teams specifically. But that's really just the most competition that you see in terms of cross-continental league soccer play, and it's just the quality is getting undeniable in the MLS, and I think we're going to see a big showcase of it today.
I'm interested, Josh, to see if Thais Magno will come off the bench like he did against Philadelphia and kind of make a difference here, because we saw that goal against the Philadelphia Union that ultimately was the game winner for NYCFC to set them in advance to the final here today. Do you think Thais Magno off the bench will play a role in today's fixture?
I think there are bench players on both sides that are going to play a huge role. Magno is definitely one of them. He was a guy that New York City FC didn't even think they'd have available for the playoffs. He's on the pitch tonight. They're getting Nicolas Acevedo, who could be a crucial part in the defensive substitutions. If he comes on later, he's available for the first time since that lower body injury has held him out for the past 2 months. Ishmael Tajuri-Shradi has been a super sub for New York City FC for the past 3 years. He could make a difference. They can move him with Medina coming off that left wing. He loves to cut inside and just curl the ball around the goalkeeper. There are a lot of playmakers, but the biggest one is on Portland. Diego Valeri coming off the bench. I know he's pushing 30. He's 35 now, so he's a bit older, and that has been reflected in his playing time this year. But when you have a former MVP, a guy who scored a decisive goal in Portland's Cup win back in 2015, coming off of your bench, that is just an embarrassment of riches for Giovanni Savarati. Christian Paredes as well, another guy coming off the bench. He's been involved on both the offensive and defense side of the midfield as well. So Portland and Santiago Moreno, another guy. Each of these teams are just so deep top to bottom that you can put starters from both of these guys' benches that will not necessarily be in the game today. That's how good these sides are.
Diego Valeri is a player who played, another Argentinian. A lot of Argentinians are having success in Major League Soccer. He was one of the first to come over, of course, won an MLS MVP award. He has been literally given the keys to the city out in Portland. He's beloved. He's a soccer icon, a sporting icon out there for a team that, let's face it, for its sporting culture, could even deserve more teams. And this is a team that they really support here with, the Portland Timbers Army, with Portland having its back. I caught some local news coverage, Josh, about this match, and the line, I believe, on Thursday was all the way down the street people camping out for 3 nights, some individuals, just to get tickets to today's match. And we're talking about resale. The tickets are $500, $600, $700 a seat, which could potentially be a record for this MLS Cup Final. So, Josh, what do you think about NYCFC fan support away? Are you expecting there to be a pocket of supporters out there from New York?
Oh, I already saw some posts on social media. There is a lot of blue out in that crowd tonight. That visitors section is chock full, and
Good.
you can see it. They're showing it on ABC if you're watching right now as they're taking the tarp off the field, getting ready for the match to start. And this is just going to be one of the loudest matches. I'm almost upset that I'm not going to be listening to the match live, because it is going to be breaking some of those on-field mics, because these are just two of the most supportive fan bases, two of the loudest fan bases in MLS, just going at it in the MLS Cup.
But instead, guys, you can listen to Josh Sperber here live, all broadcast long. So I think he's new to State of Soccer. I'm really excited about Josh's inclusion for today's broadcast. We have Tamale Killer, another really great supporter of State of Soccer, guys. Make sure to check out State of Soccer on Twitter at state_of_soccer. There is a link to our Discord in that description on my Twitter page. Tamale Killer being a member of the Discord and a subscriber to State of Soccer, saying Portland 3, NYCFC 1, which is a familiar goal line, score line that I predicted as well. Josh, you were 2-1, I believe. So we'll see what holds true in this match. But Josh, so you're saying the tarp is coming off right now. We're going to give you guys a play-by-play. Looks like the match has started, Josh. Is that true?
The match is just about to start. Our delays might be a little bit out of sync just because of streaming, but they're just about ready to go. Look like they're getting underway for NYCFC and Portland in the MLS Cup Final. Portland is going to start with the ball, and the whistle is just about to blow at Providence Park. We are so excited to get this game started and officially underway here for the MLS Cup Final.
All right, Josh, we'll take it away here. I'm going to refresh this stat tracker here thing right now so we can get them more in sync with your feed. And why don't you take us away here? I'll be joining potentially you guys later. I have some business to attend to. My sister did have a child, so that takes precedent over the MLS Cup. Some things are more important than soccer. But Josh, looking forward to your play calling here today.
Well, first, a big congratulations to you, Brian, and your family. Thank you for having me as part of the State of Soccer family. I'm excited to get my start at the MLS Cup, and we're going to get along with the play-by-play here as the ball is certainly skipping across this pitch as we predicted. Maxi Morales had the first shot of the match, but that one rolled right into the secure hands of Steve Clark. 2 clean sheets, just 1 goal allowed in this MLS Cup playoff, as Portland is going to play it back to their keeper once again. We can go through the starting lineups really quick, starting from that left side. Claudio Bravo, the left back, Dario Zaparic, and Lauri's Mabiala, are the center back partners for Portland. And Jose Carlos Van Rankin is the right back in his first year out of Mexico City. George Fochad getting his first start of the MLS Cup playoffs, joining Diego Chara as the defensive midfielders, as Yimi Chara, his brother, gets intercepted by New York City FC. It's been all NYC so far on the attack, looking to find Tati Castellanos up front, as Jesus Medina and Mabiala are playing on the side. Darren Asparilla, we're going to keep going in the starting lineups. Darren Asparilla, Sebastian Blanco, the wide midfielders, with Asparilla on the left side, Blanco on the right. Yimi Chara, brother of Diego Chara, who is one of the original Portland Timbers. He is in the center attacking midi position as well. And Felipe Mora, the 28-year-old striker out of Santiago, Chile, is the starter for Portland Timbers, who have the ball right now, and a throw in from right back Claudio Bravo, not to be confused with former Manchester City goalkeeper Claudio Bravo. Though Claudio Bravo, the left back here, is Argentinian. The goalkeeper, who starred in a couple of World Cups for the Chilean national team, is out of soccer at this point. For NYCFC, Sean Johnson in goal. Gudmundur Turarensen at the left back position. Tavon Gray, another homegrown player for the city, starting at right back, replacing the injured Anton Tinnerholm. And Gray has really shone brightly in replacement of the Swedish standout, who NYC fans affectionately refer to as Tinnerboom due to his potential to score from long distances, as the Portland Timbers are just fighting with NYC in the middle of the park, and the foul is called on Yimmi Chara. So it's going to be a long free kick from just about midfield for New York City FC. Speaking of midfield, you have Alfredo Morales and James Sands, the defensive midfielders. Santiago Rodriguez and Jesus Medina flanking Maxi Morales, the center attacking midfield for New York City FC. And Tati Castellanos, the 23-year-old Argentinian, a 19-goal season, most goals scored by an NYCFC player not named David Villa in a single season, tied for the Golden Boot with Ola Kamara, but more shots on target and more shots in general from Tati Castellanos this year than any other MLS player. Sean Johnson, the captain for New York City FC. The captain is Diego Chara for the Portland Timbers. And the coaches, Ronnie Dahlia, a very experienced coach, particularly in Scotland with Celtic, one of the premier teams in the Scottish Premier League. He has coached some of the current greats like Martin Odegaard and Virgil van Dijk, guys who have come up under Ronnie Dahlia's wing. And the USL import, Giovanni Savarese, former coach of the New York Cosmos, is in his fifth year at the helm, or his fifth year, at the helm of the Portland Timbers. A notable omission from the Timbers is Diego Valeri in the midfield. We expect him to come off the bench as he had in each playoff match so far. As another long pass, Portland looking to send those over, but the big center-back partnership in New York City FC stopping it. This time it was Maxime Chanot who booted it out of bounds, the Luxembourg international. Played on the Luxembourg team that failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup, but Chanot, a starter at center back in all 6 of those matches earlier this year. Ball going out of bounds as the Timbers have control in their half for the first extended period of the contest. And they're passing it around the center of the park. And the Chara's going back and forth. Blanco there on the right side as well. And the fans certainly look like they are loud. A lot of drums in the crowd from Portland as it's taken away. Now New York City with a run forward, but a pass intercepted by Dario Zaparic. James Sands, a guy for all of you U.S. national team fans, a name you want to keep very close. The first homegrown player to ever play with New York City FC has turned into a stalwart for the Blues, and that pass skips out of bounds. A very slick turf here at Providence Park, as it'll be a throw-in for Claudio Bravo and the Portland Timbers. A foul called. We're going to have our first free kick close to goal of the match as down goes Asparilla, who is still holding his right leg, hoping to stay on in this matchup. There's a replay shown on the ABC screen, and you can clearly see he was kicked in that right shin by Jesus Medina. Don't think a card is going to come out for the young Paraguayan international, but certainly a free kick, as we're going to see if that white spray is going to even be able to stay on, about right in the middle of the 18-yard box and midfield for Portland. And Yimmi Chara will take the free kick. Lobs it in towards the center. It's headed away cleanly by Maxi Morales. Now Asparilla looking spry on that right side. And looks like we might have the first corner kick of the match, as Tavon Gray, the first Bronx native to ever debut for New York City FC, was the last man to touch it. And it is just a side out, a couple feet away from the corner flag. 7 minutes gone by in this match. NYC trying to clear it, and they will do so successfully. Still on their side, as Tati Castellanos taking on 3 Timbers defenders, but he is tripped down from behind by Yimmi Chara. NYCFC players swarming the referee, calling for a card on the 2021 Golden Boot winner. And you take the replay there, you see he was just stepped in front of by Fochav, making his first playoff start for Portland Timbers. No card given, but a foul certainly called, and a long free kick from midfield for New York City FC. They're just going to play it quickly and try and set their game up from the ground. New York City, a more controlled possession side than the Portland Timbers, who like those long overhead balls, trying to clearly just make those quick strikes. New York City playing a much more controlled game, especially under Dahlia, than they have before any other of their teams. And remember, guys, please interact in the comments. We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say in this MLS Cup match, one of the most highly anticipated Cup finals in MLS history, according to multiple different news outlets. Just quick passing back and forth as NYC is going to come up with it, but Maxi Morales slips in the rain, and the Timbers get the interception. NYC getting possession right back. Morales sends it in, and a shot deflected away. Knocked down is Tani Castellanos. That was Alfredo Morales who had the last pass on it. A great centering ball, but better defense from Laris Mabiala. Taking a look right here, a quick 1-2 pass from Jesus Medina to Alfredo Morales. A beautiful pass in the center, but too many green jerseys surrounding Tati Castellanos. That is where New York City wants to get the ball, and Laris Mabiala deflects it out of bounds, going behind the goal for the first corner kick of the contest in the 10th minute here. Maxi Morales should be lining up to take it. It's going to be an in-swinging ball from the Argentinian. Low corner, knocked away, corner kick again. Each team barely going to move, and Maxi Morales is going to dribble the ball back to the corner flag. It looked like it was Yimi Chara that deflected the ball away, as we're 20 seconds away from the official 10-minute mark of this MLS Cup Final, number 27. Short corner this time. New York City trying to send a long cross into the box, but no one gets there. A long pass from Torarensen. That's going to skip out of bounds for the first goal kick. A great idea on that short corner, but there was just a lot of traffic and no one able to get there. Tati Castellanos was the closest. If he had touched it, offsides would have been the call. So NYC letting that one skip out of bounds, and Steve Clark, who has a season goals allowed average of 1.07 and a playoff save percentage of 75%. Or 91%, excuse me. 75 is Sean Johnson's save percentage. Got my notes mixed up here. But Clark has been the best goalkeeper of the MLS playoffs. Certainly two of the best keepers in the MLS facing off tonight. NYC beat the best keeper in the MLS, in my opinion, Andre Blake of Philadelphia, in that last Eastern Conference final matchup. Here comes NYC as Maxi Morales gets it off of the dummy in the middle. A great through ball down the right side for Medina. He gives it to Gray. Gray dekes inside the middle. He's knocked down. No foul called. Morales slips and the ball skips out of bounds. And the referee is making sure that no foul will be called. No penalty kick as the homegrown Tavon Gray thought he had the first goal scoring chance of the match. Gray on the outside of the box here, tried to deke inside, slipped a little bit. Claudio Bravo looked like he got all ball on that tackle. So no foul called, and it'll be a goal kick for Steve Clark and the Timbers. Maxi Morales went right up to the referee as soon as that ball went out of bounds. The little magician trying to make some magic happen for New York City. The Timbers have the ball. Clark has to come way off his line to get it away from Tati Castellanos, and he does, as Medina gets the foul called against Asprilla. And it's going the Timbers' way. 12 minutes elapsed in this first half so far. Still no shots on goal for either side, as the Timbers working quickly off the inbound pass, and Alexander Collins is going to guide that ball out of bounds for the goal kick. If you want to look at some stats really quickly, 2 fouls from NYCFC, just 1 coming from the Timbers. 2 corner kicks for the City, 1 save already, and that first shot of the match, a little dribbler for Maxi Morales. That's save number 12 of the MLS playoffs for Steve Clark. 13-8-3 record for Clark on the regular season. As Chanot has it, NYC playing out of the back. Chanot getting up almost to the midfield line. He's going to pass it back to his center back partner and Alex Collins, who's going to get it from Sands. Long ball forward from Collins, searching for Medina, but it's easily headed away by Bravo. Asprilla tries to clear it. Can't get all of it, but James Sands ends up on the receiving end of it, intercepted by Asprilla. And down goes Blanco. They're not going to call that foul. Blanco just ran right into James Sands, the young American out of Rye, New York. And now NYCFC passing it around. The two defensive middies for New York City. Morales and Sands passing it. And now Terarenson coming all the way up from that left back position. Think Ben Sweat, Ronald Matarrita. Been doing that for New York City FC since they started as an MLS club back in 2015. And Terarenson, more experienced. He's played in World Cup qualifiers for Iceland, where Amundsen, still young, and he has started all 3 MLS Cup matches leading up to this as a foul is called. Down goes the homegrown James Sands, Fochive. A second very physical challenge from him, the ref making sure to warn challenge. One more physical challenge like that from George Fochive will result in a card. And you can see if you're watching the game on ABC, you see on the replay, Fochive just stepping on the inside part of the foot of James Sands trying to go for the ball. A clear foul, not a yellow card, but the head referee cautioning Fochive, if there's another knocking down physical challenge like that, a card will come out for the Washington, D.C. native. 2 years at Hawaii Pacific, 2 at UConn for Fochive's soccer. A more recent addition to this Timbers roster, came in about mid-season from their USL side in San Diego. Portland calmly passing it around the back. There is Zuparic sending it forward, and Alexander Collins trying to fight off Mora, but Johnson getting out of the box and clearing that away. Johnson, a more laid-back keeper. Doesn't come off his line unless he has to. You won't see sweeper keepers in the match today. Playing it out the back again, near the Timbers. Here's Zuparic now, who's going to send it back to his keeper. And there's a lot of rain on that pitch, folks. The ball is just moving so quickly. And Portland's really having to adjust, but they're the ones holding most of the possession right now. NYC still with the advantage overall, 58% in terms of possession. Portland with 42, but now it's the Timbers playing it out of the back as Clark scoots it away from Castellanos, giving it to his right back in Van Rankin. Long ball sent forward. That's what the Timbers like to do. Here's Fochive. Sends it ahead. And the ball is going to be sent towards the center of the park, and it's cleared away by Tavon Gray. Fighting for it is Medina with Blanco. Now Asprilla cutting it to Bravo. Asprilla getting some time in, and a great intervention from James Sands. Not just physical enough to just body Bravo away from the ball, but no one knocked down. And a cleared ball for the Timbers. Showing a replay of that attack. And we had a shot from the Timbers that looked to be their first one. It was Sebastian Blanco who shot it, but it was swallowed up by 3 different NYC defenders. Still no score in minute number 17 of the MLS Cup. The first one for New York City FC, first since 2018 for the Timbers. They're playing as the hosts for the first time in their 3 cups. They lost in 2018 against Atlanta United. They were the victors back in 2015 over the Columbus Crew. As Tavon Gray sends a cross in, easily deflected away by Zuparic. Now Medina, a great move to scoot Asprilla out of the way. And a man falling down in the box that looks like Morales. And Tavon Gray fighting out of bounds, and it goes off Asprilla. So a throw in on the corner for New York City FC, about 5 feet away from that corner flag as Santiago Rodriguez was close. Tavon Gray now down, holding that right leg after a physical challenge And he was the one who sent the ball in for Tati Castellanos. And just a great deke from Medina. His ball handling skills have vastly improved. Rodriguez down what looked like to be a non-contact injury, but I think Gray just got the wind knocked out of him by Asprilla. NYC settling things down now as Collins and Chanot passing it back and forth. Chanot with the overhead ball, cleared away by Asprilla. And now James Sands is it. He's playing a lot further forward than you see him a lot of the time. Morales drifted back with Collins in the center back position, it seems. Here's Rodriguez. Rodriguez getting some space in the middle of the park, but it's deflected right into Claudio Bravo. Castellanos with the header. He moves further back than you see any striker. He strings almost into the midfield, just really aggressive, wants to be on the ball at all times. As Chanot has it patiently with no one around him. Giving it to the little magician, Maxi Morales. 12 assists on the season, not even his personal best. Medina has it on the right side, forced to send it backwards. Now Gray, low cross, deflected by Mabiala. Behind the box, Morales tries to take it away, and it's intercepted. Collins has NYC in control. Just a lot of slipping as Collins sent the long ball down that left side to Maxi Morales, but slipped on the pass. Great intervention from Bravo. He is knocked down in the center circle, and there's a chance we're getting our first card of the game. James Sands, the culprit, on the foul. No card will be shown, but a warning to the young American. It's Felipe Mora who was knocked down, making a nice intervention. And Sands might have tripped him up a little bit. I think Sands inadvertently stepped on his front toe, going for the ball, but missed after a crafty move by the 28-year-old striker out of Santiago. 20 minutes gone by, no score in this first half as Clark gets it. NYCFC still leading the way in terms of possession. 62-38 percentage-wise now. They also lead the way in terms of fouls, 4-2 over the Timbers. NYC playing it out of the back now. Chanot bringing it up above the midfield. He's gotten more and more aggressive as he falls down in front of Imi Chara, holding his shin. A lot of people around the world, the official New York City FC watch party in the Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan. A lot of blue in that crowd. Plenty of blue in this crowd, but the Portland Timbers Army comes out in full force for every match. You can bet they're going to be there, even with ticket prices surging above $700 a seat. We're still scoreless here at Providence Park. James Sands now coming back. You'll see him switching from that true six centered midfield position to a center back like he is with the United States national team, as Rodriguez is just mauled by Chara. A good tackle, but just smothering defense from the young Colombian. And here's Yimi Chara now. He gets the interception, and he's sprinting forward, sends it down the middle. Chanot clears it away. Now Tavon Gray has it, trying to deke out Asperilla to get some freedom, and he does. Xander Collins with it now. Sending it forward to Rodriguez. Now Sands. Up the left side now, looking for Maxi Morales. The ball's intercepted, ends up at the foot of Zuparic. And now Steve Clark will have it. Castellanos is going to rush forward, and Clark's going to clear it. Going all the way down to the other goalkeeper is Sean Johnson. And Steve Clark are just playing a nice little full field pass. New York City FC with an interception that looked like it would have stopped an offsides call against Felipe Mora, but the flag was not raised, and it's going to be a Timbers throw-in deep in New York City territory. About 17 yards out. But on the side, here's Bravo. Deflected away by Sands. Is that going to be a corner kick? No, it's not. Quick throw-in by Bravo. And it goes right into the feet of Tavon Gray. Cleared away deep in NYC territory. But the Chara brothers, now Mabiala with it. As down goes Medina. And NYC really looking for the Timbers to get a card as Tati Castellanos has been the subject of some physical challenge. Portland knows they need to lock him up if they want to win this game. That Golden Boot winner, NYC able to make it to the finals despite a late red card from Tati Castellanos that almost cost them the semifinals against the Supporter Shield winning Revolution. And this time you see on the replay, Mabiala just lowered his shoulder into Castellanos. Santiago Rodriguez really trying to make sure the ref pulled a card out of his pocket. But no card pulled. It's certainly a physical match. A lot of slipping just made easier in the rain. As the referee is giving Mabiala a talking to, but no cards just yet. Maxi Morales looking for Rodriguez. It's intercepted. Yimi Chara is going to get it. The ball, a foul, though, going towards NYCFC. Some confusion on the pitch now as the Timbers take possession, passing it along the back line. Mabiala sends a long ball searching for Mora. Chanot heads it away, but the Timbers still in attack mode. Asprilla to Blanco. The cross inside the box, punched away by Johnson. A shot by Mora. It goes wide, and it's cleared away. It's deflected right back to Blanco. Low cross, a great sliding tackle from Maxime Chanot, and it's the first corner kick of the match for the Timbers. NYCFC may have more shots, but it seems like the Timbers are creating more chances. New York City FC getting the ball off the short corner. Looking for Rodriguez. He's got some space on the left side, but the ball skips too far ahead of him, and Bravo intercepts it. Timbers speeding back the other way. Now here's Yimi Chara. Slowing the ball down for Portland. It's not easy to play in this kind of weather. A fast turf already in Providence Park made just more slick with the rain, as Collins winning the challenge against Felipe Mora, who's trying to streak down the middle for a shot at goal. Timbers in control now. They're going to play it back to Zuparic, who's going to send it to the other side to Claudio Bravo, the left back from Quilmes, Argentina. I've seen a lot of Diego Chara, the brother of Yimi, and a guy who has been in Portland since they became a team in 2011. Shot on net from Asprilla, but not even a chance for that to go on net. Went about 5 feet wide of the goal. Johnson still chasing it. Just to be safe, you really can't leave anything for granted here for the MLS Cup. We're still scoreless. 27 minutes have elapsed in the first half. Red smoke coming out of the fans section of the Timbers Army. Right near where they bang the drum. The Timbers trying to make that happen. Trying to saw some logs and get a goal. Cross sent into the middle of the box, bouncing around, and ends up off the head of Sands, going back outside the box. Now Fochive. Saying it, the cross in from Bravo, easily headed away by Chanot, and it's cleared down. It looks like a foul on Mabiala, and that's what the call will not be. He looked like he just tackled Castellanos again, kind of put elbow to back there. Delia kind of confused why there was no foul called. Either way, it's going to be New York City FC ball as the Rose City Riveters, the Timbers band on site, is banging the drums. We want to hear you guys bang the drums. Want to see more comments in our comment section during this MLS Cup match. Here comes Yimi Chara. Chara with it again. He's defended by Tararenson. NYC really trying to box away Chara, not letting anything happen. Great defense from both sides so far. Now Rodriguez, he's been aggressive, but he has it intercepted. Now Asprilla. Kind of switching places with Bravo here. Sebastian Blanco sends a curling cross in. No one on the other end of it, but the sure hands of Sean Johnson. And will not count as a save, but Johnson having to catch that cross that skipped across the face of the net. Giovanni Savarese barking out orders. A fixture in New York City soccer for a long time with the New York Cosmos. Coached the successor of Sean Johnson at the Atlanta Blackhawks, a former USL side, Jimmy Marr, who's now with FC Dallas. Gray trying to cross it in. I'm not sure if it was Bravo or Asprilla who blocked that, but it'll be Tavon Gray attempting the throw-in about 10 feet away from the corner flag. Throws it in just outside the box to Rodriguez. Gray looking for that cross inside. Down goes Morales. No foul called on Bravo. Sands sends it back. And NYC playing it a bit more cautious. And a cross going in, but no one on the other end to meet it. It's going to skip wide across the face of net. Maxi Morales saves it before it goes out of bounds. Cross deflected from Morales. Header chance for Castellanos, and it's taken away. Claudio Bravo, but Morales gets it back. Some space for Medina. Back pass to Morales. Curls it in. Castellanos. Oh, we can't get on the other end of it. The best chance of the day for New York City FC, but the rain may have taken the floor out from under Tati Castellanos. Maxi Morales, the little magician and architect, but Jesus Medina, some fancy footwork. And Tati Castellanos was sprung free, a good cross. If Castellanos got a foot on it, we would have had the first goal of this MLS Cup Final. Steve Clark was on the other side of the net. All Castellanos had to do was tap it in. But in this rain, easier said than done. Certainly the best chance of the day for New York City FC. As we are 30 minutes, a third of the way through this contest. Still 0-0 here as Blanco taking it down the left side. Centers it back towards the middle. A poor pass right into the awaiting feet of Maxime Chanot. Down goes Medina. It's sent back. Ref says play on for a second, but Chanot slows it up so NYC can settle themselves. Still no cards being pulled. A well-managed referee crew by Villanueva. As Jesus Medina was fouled by Diego Chara. Maxime Chanot able to bring it more forward than he has in the past because of that presence of James Sands. And there's Sands who sends it to fellow homegrown City player. And it's Tavon Gray. Bravo intercepts that, passes it to Asprilla, gets it away from a diving NYCFC. Here's Medina. Pass it wide to Morales. Back to Medina. He's going to have to get it away there. He's being double-teamed now. Now Maxi Morales. He attracts the double. Asprilla really stringing for Portland. Maxi Morales with it now. And he's going to send it all the way back to Maxime Chanot in the NYC back line in the 33rd minute. Some good chances, but better defense is Portland forcing the action out wide on those wings, not letting NYC get much up the middle as they look for the Golden Boot winner in Tati Castellanos. 19 goals, 57 shots on target, both leading the MLS. Ola Kamara, the only other player with 19 goals, as Maxi Morales who has been getting a lot more of the ball in the latter half of this first half. He has 12 assists. It's tied for 4th in the league. Now he was broken the 20 assist mark twice in the past couple of years, including 2019, his lone all-star season in the MLS. Sands giving it to Maxi Morales, immediately passing it to Maxime Chanot. Long ball going in for Chanot, looking for Castellanos, sends it back, looking for Medina, but I believe that hit off of Zuparic, and it rolls without any harm being done to Steve Clark. NYCFC's MO this entire half has been find Tati Castellanos. They sorely missed him against Philadelphia. Needed an 88-minute winner by Thais Magno to get themselves to this MLS Cup. Now Blanco. Here could be a chance for the Timbers. Blanco taking on 2 City defenders. Sent backwards now to Fochive, and the Timbers will calm down. What looked to be a higher octane possession coming from Blanco. He's the Timbers' chief playmaker as it's intercepted by Rodriguez. Taken back down. And ball going back and forth, ends up squirting out to Fochive. Now Bravo. As Maxi Morales may be having some injury troubles for New York City FC. Cross in from Blanco, easily headed away by Sands. Now it's Chara with it. To his brother Yimi, Diego Chara going back into that center back line. And there's Morales. Rodriguez with it now, out wide, looking for the through ball for Castellanos. Medina was screaming for it in the middle of the park, but unable to get the ball to him was Rodriguez. Cleared away by Clark. Chanot down. Collins fighting for it. He needs to win it against Mora. Mora pulls back out. As it's Tor Aronson making a nice play from that fullback position, and Chanot clears it away now. Diego Chara in the middle of the park, 1-on-1 with Rodriguez. Rodriguez to Maxi Morales. Morales fighting off Yimi Chara, sends it to Jesus Medina. Medina looking for Morales again. It deflects away on the right side for Sands. Maxi still limping a little bit. It's that right leg that looks to be the issue in the 36th minute of this scoreless first half here in Portland. Now Alfredo Morales. Sending it back and forth to Chanel. To Aronson now. Morales calling for it at midfield. Sends a long ball to that left side for Santiago Rodriguez. So Alfredo Morales back to Rodriguez. Looking for the cross, and it's going to hit the outside of the net and go out of bounds harmlessly for a goal kick. Taking a look to see where Morales may have got injured. Not sure if it was a contact injury. His feet just kind of got tied up on a challenge from Diego Chara. But Morales still sticking it out as Thais Magno is warming up on the side for New York City FC. Remember, guys, we want to hear your comments, so put them in. As the rain kind of dampening a little bit of the excitement on this match, definitely slowing the pace down a little bit. But still, it is a back and forth, hotly contested MLS Cup matchup as we predicted. Asprilla sends it to Fochi, well defended by Rodriguez. Now Bravo. Low cross, sent in, cleared away by James Sand. Great intervention from Sands. He knows when to get physical and knows when just to stick a foot out and poke the ball away. That's why he has become a stalwart in the defensive, particularly in the center back position for the U.S. men's national team. NYC really uses him as a true number 6. That's Blanco. Curls in the cross, headed away by Tor Aronson. He's adapted to that fullback position quite well as Medina has it now. Going 1-on, 2-on-3, it seems like, with Tati Castellanos. Tied up. And Diego Chara wins the battle. No foul called. As Castellanos, one of the more active strikers on the defensive end. Chara brothers having a pass. Now Mabiala. Pretty close to getting yellow carded after some physical challenges on Castellanos. Now here's Yimi. He's going to send it down the right side for a streaking Asprilla, but Alexander Collins is there to intercept it. Collins sent NYCFC to their first conference final, scoring the 5th out of 5 penalty kicks against New England. Just straight up the middle, right under the crossbar. Not the decisive goal scorer usually, certainly a threat on corners. He has been NYC's iron horse since he came to the MLS back in 2017. Now he is a standout for the Peruvian national team. Remember that inaugural Peruvian 2018 World Cup sign. A high cross in, looking for Tavon Gray. Gray heads it towards the middle, deflected away by Bravo. Still having to fight for it and getting a foot on it, clearing it up to about midfield is Zuparic. Passing around on some heads as Rodriguez heads it back to James Sands, who's going to send it to Collins to control things for New York City FC. Now Rodriguez. Here's Collins for Maxi Morales. He is no stranger to big games. Won the Under-20 World Cup on an Argentinian side that included Sergio Aguero and Angel Di Maria. Legendary 2017 team. Part of golden era of Argentinian players that includes Lionel Messi. As NYCFC is going to get their first chance from a free kick. Looks like it's about 30 yards away. Drawn by Tavon Gray, the first Bronx native. He has been battling with Claudio Bravo all day long. Bravo just got confused with a quick passing of Sands, had to foul Gray, or he had a good run to the net. About a 30-yard free kick, almost right in line with the right edge of the 18-yard box. Maxi Morales, the little magician, looks like he's going to send a cross into the box. Trying to get free. Castellanos, header, and a goal! Who else but Tati Castellanos? And NYCFC takes the lead. Perfectly executed free kick. And a beautiful goal from Valentin Castellanos. 2 goals in his last match and getting right back on the board after his second yellow held him out of the conference finals. Free kicks do not get better than that, folks. Maxi Morales sent an in-swinger in. Castellanos broke 3 and dove in with the header to get his 4th goal of the playoffs. And the clock's still running, obviously, but a man down on the turf for New York City FC. Looks like it's Alfredo Morales. As Maxi and Tati celebrating that goal. A player down for New York City FC. The trainer's out on the field as they take another look at the replay. Tati Castellanos quite clearly onside. Poor defense from Portland. And Steve Clark got a hand on it, but just too strong of a header. Clark caught it right before the bounce, could not stop that ball, just absolutely destined for the bottom right corner, and New York City FC has the first goal of the 2021 MLS Cup Final. Clark almost pushed it wide of the net. But that is a goal for Tati Castellanos and New York City FC. It was Jesus Medina who was down injured, helped up by the training staff for New York City. He appears to be all right. No subs getting ready just yet. I'm going to try and see Medina. Looks like something was thrown at him by a fan. Some of the Portland fans threw a couple of bottles into the NYC celebration on that left corner flag. One of them appears to have hit Medina in the nose. Not something you usually see from such a strong fan base as Medina back out and running. But nothing you throw on the field is going to stop NYC from being in the lead. A little bloody nose for Jesus Medina. He is going to continue this match for New York City FC. He has been vital so far. Timberland sign still holding strong in the rain as New York City FC is out in full force. The Citizens, a strong New York fan base, loud in Portland, and may go into halftime with a lead. 2 minutes minus extra time, or added time, I should say, before half, as Sean Johnson catches the long pass intended for Felipe Mora. NYC scores first in their first MLS Cup Final ever. Also the first final played here at Providence Park in the third final for the Portland Timbers. The 44th minute now. Castellanos' goal coming in the 41st. Here's a good chance for Asparilla. He's being shaded by Chanot, pushed outside. Collins coming there to help. Asparilla can't get it around that center back duo, and Maxime Chanot saves it from being a corner. And just a lot of slippery business in that rain. Inches away from a Timbers set piece, Maxime Chanot, a veteran move from the 32-year-old to keep the ball out of that corner flag. Cross sent in by Chara, a high header, just mishit by Mora, cleared away by Tavon Gray. Johnson barely asked to come off of the line. "30 seconds left before we see how much added time we get. I imagine it'll be a minute or two after the incident with the Timbers fans and Jesus Medina. That stopped play for about 2 minutes, as we are seconds away from the regular 45 minutes ending. Fochive with it now. Timbers playing casually, not really looking to force in a potential chance. They're playing it out the back. Tony Castellanos sprinting for it, ends up at the feet of Steve Clark. And there will be 2 minutes of added time in this first half. New York City FC with a 1-0 lead. A free kick assist from Maxi Morales and a goal from Tati Castellanos. Exactly how you'd expect it if you're a New York City FC fan. Gray tries to send it towards the middle. It's taken away. And now Sebastian Blanco, exactly who the Timbers want with the ball. Trying from long distance. I don't know if Johnson got a touch on that or if that just went out of bounds. It looks like it's going to be a goal kick. But Johnson well positioned for New York City FC. Blanco tried that from about 25 yards. And it just missed the hand of Johnson. Went wide by about 3 yards. 1 minute left in extra time. Johnson and New York City FC certainly relaxing. Just want to waste as much time as possible. The clock is their friend. They have the momentum going into the second half as down goes Castellanos on the Claudio Bravo foul. He's been aggressive all match long, getting his head on that first goal of his in the MLS Cup Final. NYC will need to protect him. I'm sure that the MLS season ending and the January transfer window approaching, he might be a guy drawing some serious interest. As Maxi Morales, a long free kick at what could be the last action of the half. Gray tries to cross it. Sent away by Mabiala, but a foul called against New York City FC, as I believe it is Yimi Chara who is down. Rodriguez is the culprit. Timbers are going to boot it across the pitch. Might get a couple extra seconds, maybe one more attack as Asparilla tries to shake loose from Gray. He sends it out of bounds. Asparilla running towards it to try and get the throw in, but that will do it for the first half. Tati Castellanos, Maxi Morales, a combination that has combined for many a goal over the past couple of seasons. They are the ones who are putting New York City FC ahead right now. 1-0 your score heading into the halftime here at the MLS Cup Final. You're watching the State of Soccer stream on YouTube. I want to hear how you thought that first half went in the comments. I am going to take a quick break, and then we are going to get into the stats and highlights of this exciting first half here at Providence Park. The underdogs, New York City FC, in their first final, they lead 1-0. Welcome back to the live stream here on the State of Soccer's YouTube channel. Trying to show a bit of the comments. If I'm a bit slow on that, I apologize. My first time on this stream here, but a heck of a break-in match here. The MLS Cup Final. You see some of the stats streaming on the board there. NYCFC looking for their first victory against Portland in quite a long time. The Timbers have won the last 4 matches against New York City FC, but it is NYCFC up front here at the half. 1 save from Portland, none needed from Sean Johnson, but the lone goal on a free kick, the classic New York City connection, Maxi Morales to Tati Castellanos. Castellanos, his 4th goal of the playoffs, getting right back into what he's missed after so it's the second yellow card late in that New England semifinal. Held him out of the conference final against Philadelphia. Maxi Morales, his 2nd assist to the playoffs, and it's been him and Tati Castellanos who has made sure that New York City FC are on top right now. We want to hear your guys' comments. I see some of the NYC crowd just a bit louder now, and for good reason, as New York City FC is up in front against Portland Timbers. It is a pretty even match. 57% possession turned to New York City FC. 2 shots on goal, one of them going in from Castellanos, the other coming from Maxi Morales inside the first 30 seconds of the match. But a slow dribbler right to Steve Clark. That was his lone save. I almost said Trailblazers. The Portland Timbers getting their 4 shots on Sean Johnson, but none of them going on target. Sebastian Blanco having a couple, and he has really been the main playmaker. Him and Felipe Mora trying to get loose for Portland, but the stout defense, that strong, experienced back line, led by Alexander Collins and Maxime Chanot, doing their job for New York City FC. I want to give a big shout-out to Tamale Killer, who is coming in with the commentary. And he is definitely saying a lot. He said that the turf helped a lot on that Tati Castellanos goal. I think I'm going to agree with you there. He got enough on the header. It even hit the hand of Steve Clark as that rolled into the net. But we want to hear all of you guys. I know Tamale Killer's been with us since the beginning. Max Kimmel's getting nice and loud for New York City FC with what right now is my favorite comment of the day, being a New Yorker myself. Holding down the Hudson River rivalry right now. New York is blue, and it's looking like they're going to win an MLS Cup before the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls have had a couple of chances. Bradley Wright Phillips was one of those main guys putting that push in for New York Red Bulls, but the last couple of years, the tide has turned in favor of the team that is actually playing in New York, the newcomers to the MLS. And it is New York City FC who has been victorious in that rivalry, even if they're borrowing the Red Bull Stadium right now. Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. That is where NYC played their home matches for the majority of this season. Got the last couple of matches after the Yankees fell in the wild card round of the MLB playoffs in Yankee Stadium, but it's been the Portland Timbers, their first MLS Cup here at home, and they've been unable to get a lot going. They had a couple good chances earlier in that first half. Sebastian Blanco, Felipe Mora able to get themselves free. Blanco trying to create chances, pushing in towards the middle of the park from that left-hand side. Felipe Mora just has been able to get some nice runs in, but has not been able to get clear of Alex Collins and Maxime Chanot. Collins has really stayed more in that center back role. Chanot's been pushing up. They use James Sands with his defense, so the center backs for NYCFC can push up a little bit, gets Ronnie Dyla and gets them to be a little bit more creative for New York City FC. And you haven't seen the creativity from Portland just as much. They've been sticking right to their formation, and it's the exact same formation that New York City is using. And that is why I think NYC has been able to get out ahead, because Portland is not changing the formation quite enough. They are not being as creative with the players that they have for this match so far. I'm going to have the new best comment of the day, Tamale Killer. I'm just going to leave that up for a little bit while there. Hit the like button, subscribe, Share this to all your friends. We are trying to get State of Soccer out there as a premier source for the fast-growing sport of soccer in America. It's not just the MLS, it's the U.S. national team. We've seen some great matches for them lately, a couple of World Cup qualifiers coming on as well. James Sands has been a feature in those matches for the United States, and he is a guy who will be featuring in many of those coming forward. You've seen his skill on defense, some slick interventions in and around the 18-yard box. Minimal pressure in terms of physical contact, but able to just sneak his tackles in there and poke the ball away from the Timbers attack. He has been crucial for New York City FC. He slides more to that center back role for the national team, and he was great during the Gold Cup, great during these World Cup qualifiers as the U.S. national team looks to get back to the World Cup. It's still halftime on the pitch here at Providence Park, a very rainy day. But, guys, make sure to smash that like button while we are here in halftime. And New York City FC controlling possession, controlling the shots. Again, we want to hear what you guys have to say about this match. The rain kind of speeding things up and slowing things down at the same time. The ball is skipping across that turf for sure. But it is the rain and it is the rain that is really affecting the outcome of this game. Tamale Killerman, I love what you're putting out here. Here is a great thought-provoking question of which player in this match besides Sands and Johnson have a chance to make the U.S. men's national team. Sean Johnson is a guy who is just stuck behind a strong group of goalies. He beat the guy who's probably going to win the Golden Gloves in the MLS this year with Ethan Turner, who had a phenomenal performance in the Nations League after an injured Zach Steffen. Zach Steffen, right now, the most accomplished American goalkeeper in New York City FC's brother club in Manchester City, just backing up Ederson there. Johnson has only 9 caps for the U.S. men's national team, but he's been on so many of those teams. 3 Gold Cup champions for him as well. And we're trying to look at some of these guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say in terms of guys with the potential to make the USA national team. I think in the future you might have some guys for New York City FC. Keaton Parks is a guy I think you should keep an eye on. He is unfortunately injured, had surgery to remove blood clots in his left leg earlier this month, just a month ago, actually. November 9th is when he had that surgery. A very tall 6'5" midfielder who might be able to push up to that striker role, lethal on corner kicks, great off the dribble, and a powerful shot. He is someone that I think could be featuring for the United States in years to come once he gets healthy. He is one of the most high-profile international signings in terms of the teams he came from. He came to New York City FC on loan from Benfica, which is consistently in the top 2 of the first league in Portugal. And he has made his mark for New York City FC, a big loss, a lot of injuries for New York. But the fact is there aren't a lot of Americans in this match. Steve Clark at 35, he's the only American in the starting lineup for the Timbers. I don't think he's going to get behind that deep run, those 3 and even more strong goalies for the U.S. men's national team, including Sean Johnson, as we mentioned, and obviously Zach Steffen and Ethan Turner. Steffen starred for the Crew just before they won that 2020 MLS Cup. For New York City FC, the big guys right now are Johnson and Sands, as we've discussed. I think Tavon Gray is someone we could see in the men's national team in the next couple of years, another homegrown guy for New York City FC, coming out of the Bronx, made his debut in June this year, and he has filled in very nicely for Anton Tinnerholm, who has not just been a fan favorite for New York City FC and one of my favorite players to watch on New York, a guy who has won multiple championships in the highest league in Sweden, played for that Swedish national team with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And Tavon Gray has filled in with him incredibly nicely. He makes good moves off the dribble. He's a good defensive player as well. Obviously, as you need from that fullback position, you might be able to even push him up in the midfield spots. It'll be interesting to see how NYC uses Gray when he comes up, but he could certainly be maybe a DeAndre Yedlin type guy coming up for New York City FC, as Yedlin has really been the main right back for the U.S. men's national team for many years now. As for that, I think for right now, that's really about all you can say for either side in the U.S. men's national team. But the MLS Cup is back. So please, as Tamale Killer says, hit that like button. New York City FC starting off the second half with possession. And no subs will start the second half. So the exact same starting lineups. Terarenson, Gray, Chanot, and Collins, the back line for New York City FC. Morales, Sands, Santiago, Rodriguez, Maxi Morales, Alfredo Morales, and Jesus Medina in the midfield, and Tati Castellanos, the goal scorer up front. Sean Johnson in goal for the visiting New York City FC. For the Timbers, Steve Clark in the net, Claudio Bravo, Dario Zuparic, Laris Mabiala, and Jose Carlos Van Rankin. The back line for the Timbers, in front of Steve Clark, George Fotaib, Diego Chara, Dyron Asprilla, Yimi Chara, and Sebastian Blanco in the midfield for the Timbers, and Felipe Mora, the outright striker, leading the Timbers with 11 goals on the season. He has been the closest to scoring for Portland so far, but it has been a strong defensive performance, one of the best I've ever seen in all of my years. I've been watching New York City FC since they debuted as an MLS club. I was actually at the second home match for New York City FC. No David Villa, no Frank Lampard, as Lampard was still finishing out that first season with Manchester City, and Andrea Pirlo was still injured, as he was for a lot of his New York City FC tenure. But none of the big designated players you came to see ended up with a 1-0 loss to Sporting Kansas City, a couple years off of winning their second MLS Cup title. Graham Zusi, Matt Beasler, a lot of U.S. national team standouts I was able to see in that match. But a cold March day ended up even colder for New York City FC, the first match I saw for the Blues, who are now in the lead in their first ever MLS Cup Final. A final that is won by the home team in each of the last 4 seasons. And now the Timbers looking a bit more aggressive. You can see the sense of urgency as they're pushing forward. Van Rankin has not been very active in the contest for the Timbers. He is pushing forward as the fullback, but it's NYCFC who's controlling possession right now. Good to see Medina back with really no signs of slowing down after he got hit in the face with a water bottle. Always unfortunate to see when fans do that here in games like this. So big thanks to you guys for tuning in. Josh Sperber here on State of Soccer. Hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe, as we've got plenty of more content. The MLS season might be winding down, but World Cup qualifying is winding right up. 2 North American teams on top in the CONCACAF qualifiers. Canada and the USA separated by just a point in the World Cup qualifying standings, about halfway through, as the push to 2022 in Qatar is well underway. And Tati Castellanos going to ground, and a potentially dangerous free kick for New York City FC, as the referee has just done a great job of staving off a consistently vocal presence from both teams, really trying to make sure that this match is called fairly. And now Tati Castellanos is looking for another goal, but this one might just be a shot. 2 players standing over the ball for New York City FC, Maxi Morales and Gudmundur Terarenson. It should be Morales the shooter, but it looks like the left-footed Terarenson is setting up to try and strike this one. We'll see what happens next. Maxi Morales sends the ball towards the net, off the post. Clark just missed getting a hand on it, and Morales was disappointed. He was looking for his first goal of the postseason, looking at a replay. Bit of lag on my end watching the game. The trouble with doing remote broadcasts, but you make do during COVID, and it's not my first remote broadcast. I'm sure it won't be my last. I think it was deflected by Clark off the post, as Maxi Morales is now setting up for a far corner. Going to send an in-swinging ball from the left corner flag. Morales, the high corner kick, a header, headed into the middle of the park, looking for Castellanos, and that's going to roll out of bounds for a goal kick. A well-executed corner, as we're going to see on the replay here. It looks like it was Alfredo Morales, who tried to flick it backwards with his head towards Castellanos in the middle. But no one there, as a long cross going from Van Rankin, skipping across the 6-yard box and rolling harmlessly out of bounds for New York City FC. A throw in deep in their territory. 15 minutes has elapsed in this second half, or in this contest, rather. Just 5 gone by in the second half. In the 51st minute here, it's Gudmundur Turarensen on the throw-in. Sends it pretty long as Castellanos coming all the way back to try and get a foot on that. Still intercepted by the Portland Timbers, and back to Steve Clark it goes. 1-0 the score. In the 41st minute, it was Tani Castellanos off the patch from Maxi Morales. That was the only goal of the match. NYCFC is leading Portland in just about every category in a pretty evenly matched game. Still about 60-40 in terms of possession. And here's a chance for the Timbers now. Yimi Chara sending it to Asprilla. Asprilla, the spin move to get himself back over the middle, going all down the right side to Van Runken. Van Runken looking for the cross. Collins coming up to defend him. And Collins gets his legs tied with Van Runken. And the referee is going to send a free kick kind of on the corner, with Alexander Collins kind of arguing with the referee there as we get ready for a free kick for the Timbers, their first of this second half. Replay shows it was a pretty clear foul on Collins. He got his foot on the ball, but he'd still dived forward, and that's where he got tripped up. Chara sends in the cross, and it is easily deflected away. I think it was Maxime Chanot who got his head on it. It's going to be a corner kick. Yimi Chara will be back to take it. Laris Mabiala was the intended target. Yimi Chara sending in the outswinger towards the center. Bouncing around, Mabiala might get a foot on it. It's still a shot for the Timbers. Bounced around, a long-distance shot by Mora, no good. And it goes back out to Diego Chara. Timbers will try and reset, but it's intercepted. Alfredo Morales sending it up for NYCFC, and they've got numbers forward. Rodriguez tried to send it to the left side. It looked like he made the wrong decision as Jesus Medina was coming screaming down that right side, looking for the ball. So in the 53rd minute now, and Portland looking to get the ball right back. 53 minutes have gone by in the game. It's still a 1-0 lead. You're seeing a larger sense of urgency from the Timbers as they're pushing the ball forward, passing it down that far wing. Low cross sent in, deflected away, but actually seemed to be punted right up. Asprilla, the intended target. He fights away Maxime Chanot, who was down to the ground, and a foul called on Dyron Asprilla. And he was calling for that handball on Chanot. I don't think that's the right call. From the replay angle, Chanot had his arm directly on his chest, like he was saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And when that is the case, you don't call a handball. He was actively trying to get his hand out of the way, pulling it in toward his body to avoid what could have been a dangerous penalty kick for the Timbers. Ball rolling all the way forward in the rain. Rodriguez can't get it. That's intercepted by Morales. Alfredo Morales. I really should just refer to them two Moraleses, no relation. By their first name is Van Runken, the right back, who's taken a more active role in the Timbers' second half. We'll throw it in. Another question to ponder of the European. This is going to be an interesting question. This is more for you guys in the chat there. A lot of European talent or American talent over in Europe. Obviously, the names that come to mind are Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, Zach Steffen, who made the jump from the Columbus Crew to Manchester City. As I've mentioned earlier on, Weston McKennie up with Juventus now, after he started off with Schalke. A lot of U.S. talent overseas. We'll see who's going to come back. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to State of Soccer as well. under the comment. You can find our Twitter _state_of_soccer on Twitter. Follow us there as well. A lot of great content coming your way in a crucial time for American soccer. As the league season comes to a close, World Cup season gets heavily underway. Morales fighting around with Mabiala. That one squirts out to Medina. He has it deflected away. Asprilla has it. And Timbers trying to start a fast break. 4-on-3 coming. Mora streaking down the right side, but it's Asprilla with the ball. Max Blanco gets it, tries to get it away, and James Sands dispossessed him. Now NYC is running it quickly the other way, but it's slowed up by Maxi Morales, given back to Alfredo Morales. Now Collins to Rodriguez, and NYC down the right side to Rawlinson, all the way up from that left back spot. A staple of New York City attack since the days of Ronald Matarrita. Even former Timber Rodney Wallace, who scored the eventual game-winning goal in the Timbers' first MLS Cup Final appearance, that 15 championship. Long-distance shot, easy save. Sliding to his left was Steve Clark, stopping Santiago Rodriguez. And that's the first shot of the second half in the run of play. Obviously, the free kick from Maxi Morales was a chance as well. But the first shot in the run of play for New York City FC coming from Santiago Rodriguez. We are almost at the hour mark. NYCFC still clinging to a 1-goal lead in their inaugural MLS Cup Final. The third final for the Timbers. They're 1-1 in such appearances. This is their first final here at Providence Park. And there's a shot. Morales, the through ball for Medina. Medina gets off the shot. A great diving save near post. Steve Clark denies Medina. And that was a great look as Morales finding Medina wide open on that right side where he does so much damage. Still no substitution for either side yet. And Steve Clark getting the best save of the ballgame. Yimi Chara is going to take the ball. It was deflected out of bounds off of Maxime Chanot for the second corner kick of the second half for the Portland Timbers. Now each side has 2 corner kicks apiece. Going with the out-swinging ball from the right side of the pitch. Outswinger from Chara. Mabiala jumps a bit too early, almost leapfrogs a couple of NYC defenders, and the ball skids harmlessly to Maxi Morales, who's bringing it up the pitch. Into the attacking third now is Rodriguez. Rodriguez able a great slide tackle as he can't get away from Jose Carlos Van Rankin, but a foul is called and a card is pulled for the first time. We have not seen a card of any color in this match so far, as the first yellow card of the match will go against Jose Carlos Van Rankin. As down goes Santiago Rodriguez. Some more NYCFC fans popping up in the chat. I swear I'm not just putting up these comments because I'm from New York. This guy, clearly a fan of all kinds of city. That's a Manchester City logo if you follow European soccer, as we're a minute away from that hour mark. Sam Walsh, big thanks for the comment. Hope you guys are enjoying this little chat feature of the live stream. Certainly want to hear what you guys have to say. NYC in control. A cross coming in from Torarensen. It's easily controlled by Claudio Bravo, who guides it to his keeper. Collins, the intended target on the outswinging cross. Mabiala with it now. NYC still applying some pressure, so Steve Clark has to get involved, and we might get our first substitution. Couldn't see who is next to Gio Savarese on the Portland Timbers bench, but they might have some changes coming in their lineup. We are at the hour mark now. New York City with a 1-goal lead. Tati Castellanos from Maxi Morales. as the difference. That was in the 41st minute, right at the end of the first half, and that is all that is necessary for the City right now. 2 substitutions waiting in the wings for the Timbers. It's Christian Paredes and Santiago Moreno for Portland. Who do you think they'll replace? We'll see soon enough. Paredes, a surprising omission from that starting lineup. I'd imagine he would take Fochive out. Fochive getting his first playoff start here. As NYCFC in control with 30 minutes remaining in this match, plus the added time. Medina is the only one to touch it, as Bravo didn't give him much breathing room. That goes out of bounds. And our first substitution of the match is a surprising one. Santiago Moreno, another midfielder out of Cali, Colombia, signed for $2.75 million in July. Will take out Sebastian Blanco, one of the leading playmakers on this side for the Portland Timbers, and Christian Paredes, as I predicted, taking out George Fochive. Going to have to make that a note here. Christian Paredes has played all but 2 minutes in the playoffs before this match, and now he missed the first 60 of this one. Santiago Moreno and Christian Paredes, some youth, some speed injected into this Timbers attack. It'll be interesting to see how that changes things. So Paredes is a defensive midfielder, as is Fochive, as NYCFC controlling Gray and Medina, the 2-man game. But Paredes provides more offensive punch. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists on the season, including 1 assist in the playoffs so far. And it seems like that's just a substitution to spell the older Sebastian Blanco at 33, the oldest player in the attacking part of either lineup today, as James Sands down. It's Yimi Chara, the foul called. Diego Chara trying to defend his brother. But it seems like 2 like substitutions. Santiago Moreno, a rich history for the Timbers, and the finals are done for Sebastian Blanco and George Fochive. Blanco had a shot, not on target, but had a shot on goal in the first half. Not as big of an impact as many expected from him. Still haven't seen Diego Valeri leave the bench for Portland. He is still the elder statesman on the Timbers team. A potential chance for Medina. He had it taken away by Bravo, and Bravo in control, clearing it away. Playing a little back and forth with Zuparic. Chanot sends it right back, and it's headed back again by Zuparic. This time Rodriguez comes up with it. Rodriguez makes the turn, gives it to Medina, and he'll spring forward. Alfredo Morales now. Trying to get it around Moreno. 21-year-old from Cali, Colombia. One of 3 players on the Timbers roster, from Cali. That includes both the Chara brothers as well. Moreno, a product of CD America, one of the top teams in the top league in Colombia. Moreno has a goal and an assist in 16 matches this season. Paredes has now played 24 matches, 3 goals and 2 assists for him, as I said earlier, as Maxime Chanot clears it out of bounds. Timbers in control. And a pass behind Moreno as Terarenson being pushed up the pitch by Ronnie Dahlia. Terarenson to throw it in. 65 minutes in this match has elapsed now. Score still 1-0. Terarenson knocks it off of the head of Van Rankin. And he'll throw it in again for New York City FC. No substitutions on the horizon for the Scottish head coach of New York City FC. At least 1 playoff win in both seasons. A win in the MLS Back tournament, a win in the quarterfinals of the MLS Cup playoffs last year, losing to Toronto in the semis. They were spelled by Portland in the quarters of the MLS's back tournament at Walt Disney World. 3-1 was the score there, but two of the goal scorers we have not seen so far. As a foul called against Portland, Aronson having to restrain Santiago Rodriguez. He is certainly playing with passion, defending his teammates. Maxi Morales gets it to Aronson. Now Rodriguez has it deflected away, going right back out of bounds for Aronson throwing. Looking for Morales. He may be offsides there. We haven't seen that offsides flag raised all that much. Just trying to find Castellanos in the cross. But it's deflected away by Paredes. NYC still with possession. Aronson looking to push towards the middle. Down the left side, Rodriguez to Castellanos. Back to the Timbers defense. It's intercepted by Bravo. Bravo down to the ground, and a foul going to be called against Jesus Medina. And once again, it's feed Toddy. That is the theme of this New York City offense right now. All the balls with scoring chances, if they're around that 18-yard box, if they're in the attacking third, you can bet that the ball is going to try and land at the feet of Toddy Castellanos. One goal to nothing in favor of New York City FC. And it's because of that man, Castellanos. As the Timbers throwing it in. Here's Chara. Now Bravo from the left side, sending the cross in, looking for Mora. It's knocked down. A shot from Van Rankin, no. NYC wants offsides on Asprilla. They won't get it, but it's deflected away. Asprilla going to ground, complaining, wanting the foul. And that's actually going to be an offside flag call, so a late one. But the right call, Dairon Asprilla. If you're watching the match, you can see he just got a couple feet away from Collins, who smartly went to contest the shot of Van Rankin. He was in the 6-yard box, the only one aside from Sean Johnson in that 6-yard box there. NYCFC getting that offside trap for, surprisingly, the first offsides call of the match. Aronson sending it forward down to ground. I believe that's Rodriguez, and he is writhing in pain, looking for that yellow card. And it's Mabiala, the physical challenge, as the head referee tries to just get Rodriguez up off the floor, holding that left shoulder. A little screen lag, preventing me from seeing exactly what forced Rodriguez to the ground. It should be a New York City free kick, as we're going to take a look at the replay. Yeah, he was tripped by Mabiala, and he landed right on that left shoulder. Mabiala went for the ball, the right shoulder, excuse me. That caused Rodriguez to go to the ground. A chipped cross sent in. No dice there, as it was intercepted by Moreno. Asprilla getting some space, but Collins, a great recovery. A one-on-one. And if Collins had failed that intervention, it could be a tie ball game. Here comes the Timbers now. Van Rankin to Diego Chara. Out to Bravo. Bravo sending a long cross in, looking for Mora. Skips away from him, and Asprilla has it on the right side. Low cross in, deflected away by Aronson. Sent in by Van Rankin, deflected around. I don't know who that hit first, if it was Alfredo Moreno or Felipe Mora. But either way, it falls into the arms of Sean Johnson. And a couple chances as Mora looked for the bike kick. And Alexander Collins dived to knock that away. NYCFC is 21 minutes away from their first MLS Cup in their first chance, as Diego Valeri, who many times over has been the Timbers' hero, their all-time leading goal scorer with 86. He's starting to get loose on the Portland bench as the trainers come out for an NYCFC player. As on ESPN, they're taking another look at that Taddy Castellanos goal. Tamale Killer said the rain might have aided a little bit, and I think it helped the skid towards the back post. But Steve Clark did get a hand on it. as we are inside the 71st minute now. In the last 3 seasons, a graphic on ESPN, 28 matches where the Timbers have trailed at half. The record, no wins, 23 losses, and 5 ties. So if you're an NYCFC fan watching this stream, that's got to sound pretty good. But trends are made to be broken. Here's a provoking question from Sam Walsh. Thinking of Manchester City FC and New York City FC's relationship as the ball's cleared away by the New York City defense. And that's something we talked about in the pregame show a little bit. I started following Manchester City football because on a couple of occasions, I met some Man City executives while working for New York City FC. I love that there is a relationship. You've seen a bunch of New York City players who played on Man City, like Angelino and Jack Harrison, having their career start on loan spells, or in Jack's case, a MLS Super Draft contract, have their careers started in New York City FC and then extended on Manchester City. Angel Herrera is another guy who didn't stay on Man City long, but he is now a stud defensive midfielder. He was great for Granada a couple of years ago, now on Real Sociedad. And that is part of the strong relationship, one of the best relationships between two clubs in different leagues, and I think I've seen. Even Melbourne City FC, another club under that City football group, ownership group, where David Villa played a couple matches and kind of a tune-up for his record-setting time at New York City FC. So thank you, Sam, for your input, and we encourage all of you guys to put more input on this chat, as this is about football, soccer in general, whatever you want to call it, American, world. We just want to talk soccer here. And that is what we're doing in this exciting MLS Cup Final. NYC looking to win their first. And they are about 18 minutes from doing so. Tamale Killer with another question about guys that you may see coming to NYCFC or coming to play against the U.S. in World Cup qualifiers. Some guys on the Colombian side that you might see today, as that one is sent down out of bounds from Maxi Morales. Looking for Torarensen, but Torarensen a little bit slow on that run. You might see both. You definitely might see Yimi Chara in the World Cup for Colombia. It's not in the USA's qualifying bracket, but I imagine Yimi Chara has a good chance to make that Colombian national team. But a lot of these guys are more on the South American side of the World Cup qualifying. So you might not see, I guess, maybe Acevedo is a guy. Santiago Rodriguez maybe still be on the U23 sides, but definitely down the road, they'll be in the South American qualifying for sure. But a lot of South Americans on both sides of this team, Argentina, Colombia. You might see Van Rankin. I don't think you'll see Van Rankin. There's a lot of talent in that Mexico back line, and he has not showed that he is a World Cup worthy. But definitely some players you'll see down the World Cup qualifying and general World Cup line. Tamale Killer, thank you again for the insightful comments, and please keep on commenting, guys. We really appreciate you getting involved on this chat. That's why we do this. We do this for you guys to stay involved in soccer, as a foul call missed as Yimi Chara seemed to pull Torarensen off the ball. And Tony Castellanos sprinting towards Steve Clark, but he gets a boot on it just before the 23-year-old Argentinian can send that into a dangerous place. Collins might have come off his line too much. Here comes Yimi Chara. Could he tie it up? A last-second intervention from Chanot. Pops it right up to Sean Johnson. Brilliant defending from Maxime Chanot, saved an equalizing threat. And Yimi Chara is down to the floor in anger. He blew right by Collins, who just went for the ball in a little two-man game from Asprilla and Yimi Chara. And Chara was inches away. A low shot catching the foot of Maxime Chanot here in the 75th minute. And that was the Timbers' best chance today. Their first shot on goal of the day. blocked away by Maxime Chenot, the guy who will certainly be a big name in Colombian soccer down the road. Pibe Valderrama, a guy who was one of the first international stars to come to the MLS. One of the first MVPs as well, but even before it was named the Landon Donovan Trophy. He was known for his big hair in that 1992 World Cup for Colombia. Or one of the many retiring stars, guys who played in some of the big clubs in Europe, like David Villa, like Pirlo, as a shot on the net, and it was Van Ronken getting his first attempt of the match. Sean Johnson getting his first save. Kind of a chip shot, looking for that far post, and Sean Johnson just walked over to that. A really easy save for the 32-year-old Georgian. From Georgia, not the country, the state. Played his college ball at UCF. Started both years he played. Played a year in the USL with the now folded Atlanta Blackhawks. Same side as Giovanni Savarese product, the main goalkeeper with the New York Cosmos. And a couple of Savarese's years there. Jimmy Marr, who is now the starter on FC Dallas. Portland fans trying to will their team to victory. The pace for the Timbers has slowed up considerably. Definitely started up a lot faster in that second half. As Mabiala dribbling the ball into the half as NYC is playing very conservative defense. Especially after that Collins challenge that nearly resulted in a Yimi Chara goal. At back line is sitting inside the 18-yard box. Very deep line as the Timbers look to push forward. Here's Bravo, who's been trying to send crosses in all day. This time it's well read by Medina. Bravo, defended by Sands, who kicks the ball off of him. They collide near the far sideline, and it's going to be NYCFC ball. Another great intervention from James Sands as the Timbers complain for a foul call, but that's about as clean as it can get from the New Yorker. First homegrown player for New York City FC. And he came in with big expectations, not because he was the first homegrown guy, but in his debut, he took off Andrea Pirlo, kind of a passing of the torch. They play a little different positions. Pirlo more of an attack-minded midfielder, one of the all-time great passers in the sport. And James Sands is a true number 6, a guy who plays center back for the U.S. national team. So Aronson mishandles a header. It's cleared away by Rodriguez. Timbers will get possession as NYCFC is looking to make its first sub of the match. I imagine it'll be a straight swap for, on the right side, Jesus Medina for Ish Tajuri Shradi. No confirmation on who Tajuri Shradi will come in for, but surprising considering he's a very offensive-minded winger. So it could be the end of the match for Santiago Rodriguez or Jesus Medina, as Tajuri Shradi can play both sides. I think he's better on the right side. It's Medina on the right side now. Sends it towards the middle of Castellanos. Long-range shot, skips out of bounds. No real threat for Clark and the Timbers. Goal kick. And it's going to be Santiago Rodriguez coming off. The 21-year-old Uruguayan will leave for a super sub, a guy who has been a prominent goal scorer. I've seen him score many game-clinching goals. He's coming off that left side. Tajuri Shradi left-footed. We may switch Medina, as Rodriguez, I think, is getting a yellow card as he just walked off the field. No intention of rushing. Clearly trying to waste some time. And the head referee of today's match has just done a fantastic job of controlling the game, making sure it doesn't get too physical, and making sure that the pace is moving in an agreeable way for both teams, especially now that time is everything for the Timbers. A 1-goal lead for New York City FC as Tajuri's poked off the ball with his first touch of the match. A long pass for Yimi Chara. falls to the hands of Sean Johnson for the goal kick. 10 minutes remain in regular time. Santiago Rodriguez getting a pretty meaningless yellow card at this point. Excuse me. There are still 11 versus 11 on the pitch. As we are in single-digit minutes remaining in regular time in this MLS Cup match. NYC doing everything it can to stall time as Tajuri Shradi has seemed to just made it a straight swap for Rodriguez, playing on the left side, Medina staying on the right. Usually you have your wingers with their strong foot going inside. Not the case here, as Tajuri Shradi, left-footed, on the left side, so his inside foot would be his right foot. As a foul called on Jesus Medina, deep free kick for the Timbers. I presume they'll play it short as soon as the ref blows his whistle. And no, they won't. They're going to send it towards the net. Mora gets a foot on it, but Sean Johnson makes a diving save. Felipe Mora sprung free for what seems like the first time all match. They've been trying to force it to him. But NYCFC looking a little lackadaisical on defense, letting Mora have an opening in the middle of the pitch, and he just couldn't get enough on it. Kind of brushed it with the outside of his right foot, and that made it a relatively easy save, a dangerous opportunity for the Timbers. They're knocking on that door, though. A couple of close calls in the last couple of minutes. Yimi Chara blowing by Collins, only to have it deflected by Chanot. And then Felipe Mora coming inches away from getting that ball past a diving Sean Johnson. 8 minutes remain before extra time. It looks like they'll add 3, maybe 4 minutes of extra time. So far, not a lot of stoppages. But you always lead on the side of a bit extra when it comes to extra time in a cup final like this. And they're looking at that replay again. Felipe Mora had a ton of space in the middle of that park. And barely got the edge of his cleat on it. As Sean Johnson dove to secure the save. In the 82nd minute now, as we might have another substitution coming on for Portland. As Savarese talking to a couple guys on his bench there. I don't even think that last shot's going to count as a shot on goal. It might not have even hit the cleat of Mora, but that was certainly the intention. Foul going against New York City. Head referee trying to speed up play for the Timbers. Jesus Medina the culprit once again. As Christian Paredes talking to Coach Savarese, and another substitution, the third and what should be the final one. Out comes Dairon Asprilla, who has been very involved in the Timbers attack. And Jaroslaw Niezgoda, the Polish international, will come on for the Timbers. 3 goals in 16 matches on the season in the final 6-7 minutes of regular time. That might change the formation for the Timbers, getting another striker on. Mora deflected away by Tararenson. It's going to roll out of bounds, and pointing the corner flag is the referee. Felipe Mora is the guy in the center of the park that Portland wants to feed. Yimi Chara has taken every single corner. This is the 4th for the Timbers. It's going to be an outswinger. Sent in, headed away by Chanel. Long distance shot by Bravo. I'm not sure who that came off of, but it goes right back. Tajuri Shradi looking for it. Yimi Chara gets it. Morales trying to fight off Van Rankin. Van Rankin gets by Tajuri Shradi. Sends it around Tararenson to Yimi Chara. Back outside, looking for that long distance shot is Bravo. Instead, he sends a cross in, looking for Moreno. Knocked away. Now Bravo with Tajuri Shradi fighting for it. And Diego Chara, who has gone way back, able to retain possession for the Timbers. Morales and Bravo battling one-on-one. Going down the left side and clearing it away is Tavon Gray. fourth homegrown player to debut for New York City FC. Had a quieter second half, but he has still been a key piece of this New York City FC defense. I know that someone asked about Tavon Gray earlier on in this match. That looked like it was Median Sky. So to answer your question, Median Sky, Tavon Gray has had a solid match. Still remarkable what he's been able to do in his first MLS season and being called into a starting role in crunch time in the season, with defensive stalwart Tinnerholm being lost due to ruptures Achilles tendon back in October. A lot of injuries for New York City FC and a lot of resilience as Santiago Moreno's shot skips harmlessly out of bounds for a goal kick. James Sands on the defense there again. He's definitely the defensive MVP of this match. It's hard not to give a player of the match to Tati Castellanos at this point, as involved as he has been, and his goal is the difference. We want to see who your MVP of the match is. Post it in the comments. It could be anyone. It could even be Mitch Trubisky, the inaugural MVP winner. I'd call this the SVP winner, but then ESPN would get real mad. But just tell us who it is, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more State of Soccer content as we head deeper into World Cup qualifying season. 5 minutes remaining in this one. New York City FC, the 1-goal lead. The Timbers have been in control for the last couple minutes of this match. The ball sent in towards Mora. Collins knocked it away. I think Mora might have gotten the last word. Hard to see who's going to get that ball going out of bounds, but Collins there to make the decisive intervention. I think it headed off of Collins and then hit Mora and hit wide. Valeri's still getting loose, but it doesn't look like he'll be coming in this match. A surprising omission, as he might be taking his training bib off now. And yes, he is. What a storybook ending this could be for Portland, as Diego Valeri seems to be getting ready to check in. 5 substitutions, 3 used for Portland, just 1 for NYCFC. It was Tajuri Shradi who came in for Santiago Rodriguez. 3 minutes left in regulation. Moreno, another substitute, is dispossessed by Chanot, knocked off a Gray, and a foul, or not a foul, an out-of-bounds throw-in, as Diego Valeri is getting ready to check in, and it seems like Portland is slowing things up to make that happen. And here he comes. The leading goal scorer in Timber history, 86 goals for the 35-year-old Argentinian. If they retired numbers in soccer, his would be the first for Portland. On comes Diego Valeri, unsure who he's checked out yet. And that would be a storybook finish for the Timbers if he could have something to do with the decisive equalizing goal. I'm going to try and check to see who he replaced. Still not popping up. But the Timbers maintaining control off the short corner. And some collision in the center of the park. Refs blowing it dead. And here's a chance for New York City. Jesus Medina, one-on-one. Could he finish it? No. Diego Chara, the intervention. Match-saving defense from another stalwart of the Timbers. The original Portland Timber, Diego Chara, stopping a one-on-one chance for Jesus Medina. Diego Valeri getting his first touch of the match, and now Diego Chara is shown a yellow card, second in the match for Portland. Van Rankin, the other one. There's a look at that intervention from the captain. Burst of speed from the 35-year-old, dispossessing Medina and keeping the Timbers' hopes of extra time alive. We are almost in the 90th minute, and New York City FC still leads. They've got a deep free kick. Morales taking time to set things up. Maybe speaking with a head referee at this point. NYC is going to play it short. They're going to try and kick it out of bounds, or close to the out of bounds line, just to stall time. Should be 3 or maybe 4 minutes of extra time coming up as we hit the 90th minute. Still not on the clock yet, and there's a foul that is not called, right in a bad spot as Tajuri Shradi attempts a long-distance shot, officially shown 4 minutes of extra time in this final. In the 91st minute now, 1 goal separates NYCFC and the Timbers. It is NYC who is just 3.5 minutes from their first MLS Cup. A yellow card shown again. I'm not sure who that was even to. Maybe it looked like Jesus Medina was the closest man to the referee. Three minutes remaining now. NYC clears. You're not going to see a lot of attacking from them. Clark coming out of the box to try and keep it forward. The Timbers mercilessly pushing it towards the net. NYC playing a deep line, trying to defend. Out of bounds again. It looks like we're going to have a late substitution from New York City FC. That's Malte Amundsen, a defensive substitution. He is going to take off Gudmundur Tararensen, a defensive midi filling in at left back. And now a natural fullback in Amundsen is going to replace it. Second sub for NYCFC. Timbers have made 4. The yellow card was shown to Sean Johnson for wasting time. Jose Carlos Van Rankin was the man subbed away to give way to Diego Valeri. An offensive substitution. All the Timbers need to do is attack. NYC is 2 minutes away from victory. Ball's knocked out of bounds. NYC have the throw-in, and they're going to take their time. You're going to see counters when needed from New York City, but they are just going to try and keep this as slow as possible. Morales to Castellanos, surrounded by Chara and Moreno. It's knocked out of bounds. Going to see a lot of this. It's like fouling the ball handler in the NBA. Short throw-ins to guys right next to the out-of-bounds line, just boxing the guys out, keeping the ball in possession and in play so the time can tick on. Down goes Castellanos. A foul is called against Diego Chara. 1.5 minutes remaining. Timbers fans looking more and more discouraged. Wet on the sidelines. Morales to Medina. Back to Morales. And now the Timbers have possession. Long pass forward from Chara. But numbers back for New York City. Chanot misses the header, falling to his feet. Mora has it now, but numbers getting back for New York City. A chance, maybe the last one for the Timbers. Moreno looking for the cross. Numbers in the middle, off the face, deflected away by Jesus Medina, and a goal and a corner kick for the Timbers. It's not going to be Chara this time, and coming forward is the goalkeeper, Steve Clark, for the extra man on the box as Santiago Moreno is going to send in the out-swinging ball. Towards the near post, it's deflected away. Clark is going to have to clear that out of bounds so we can get back to the goal. Gives it to Moreno, and it's cleared ahead by Tajuri Shradi. Under 30 seconds left in the game. NYC in the position to win their first title. Chara to Bravo. Sends it in. Yimi Chara looking for Mabiala on the header. Another shot. No. More of the shot. And it's tied. Oh, my goodness. Seconds away from victory. But the Timbers tie it up. Felipe Mora. Are you serious? Providence Park is exploding. 5 seconds away from an NYC victory. The ball bouncing around in the box. Hits off of Niezgoda. Squirts out to Mora. And Mora hits the far post. And wood will be chopped in Portland. Tavon Gray couldn't clear it. Chanot couldn't clear it. And Felipe Mora in tears in the rain as the Timbers have another chance. Chanot and Gray going to ground to try and send that away. And a frantic attempt at net. Alexander Collins ends up getting the deflection off the Niezgoda shot, and Felipe Mora tying it up with 5 seconds left in regular time. You have to be kidding me. What an MLS Cup final this has been. Nothing Johnson could do about that. A low shot from Mora under the outstretched arms of Sean Johnson, and this is where the crowd can come into play. The Portland Timbers, seconds away from failing, equalize with 5 seconds left in the match. I am speechless. And Maxime Chanot is arguing with the referee right now. Wanted a yellow card on Mora, I believe. He is being ushered away from the referee at the end of this. And that is it for regulation. NYC looked like they had this one all locked up. And there is still going to be 30 more minutes of soccer. 2 15-minute periods of extra time. New York City FC against the Portland Timbers. We're going to be right back. I don't know if it's going to be a 5-minute break, but I'm going to take a quick break here as NYCFC and Portland Timbers are heading into extra time. So I am a little bit late getting back into this game. It's about 20 seconds of extra time. Forgive me for the delay, but nothing has happened just yet. The Timbers beginning with possession here, and they are staying aggressive in the first extra time period. Just about a minute has elapsed so far, and they're replaying that goal again. It was Claudio Bravo, a header from Yimi Chara, deflected back by Diego Chara, and then right off of Alex Collins, an unlucky deflection right off of the foot of Collins to the goal scorer in Felipe Mora. The 94th minute, 5 seconds away from an NYC victory. And I definitely agree with Tamale Killer. Certainly the best outcome for the MLS, as you can see on the comment up there. And we clearly have a convert, Sam Walsh, who has changed his icon from the Premier League to the MLS. Not one of the teams represented today. Interesting, but I'm glad we have some more MLS fans coming from this broadcast. Josh Sperber here on State of Soccer, as the Portland Timbers are really controlling in this first overtime period, as they did the end of that first period, of the end of that second half. NYC played a little bit too carefully as Ward coming out aggressive, poking the ball away. Doing the same thing is Medina, and a long distance shot hitting the hands of Sean Johnson, the easy catch. Hard to see who shot that. I believe it was Claudio Bravo. But now NYC getting really their first chance at possession. We are tied at 1. 2 15-minute periods of extra time. And then we'll go to penalty kicks. NYCFC, this is their second match that has gone past the normal parameters of 90 minutes. For Portland, they have played the minimum required 270 in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. NYCFC won on penalty kicks in the conference semis as the ball sent in by Maxi Morales, intercepted by Clark before Medina could get ahead on it. But a good late-breaking run from Jesus Medina. And now here come the Timbers. Diego Valeri still in the match for Portland, and he has the ball right now. The Timbers' hero on many an occasion. Will he be the decisive factor for Portland? He was playing a little deep in that midfield, and certainly got the thing started with some late passing. Niaz Goda, who played a big role in that final goal, is dispossessed. Tati Castellanos falls down to the feet of Mabiala. No foul called, as it seems that Santiago Moreno has drifted back to that right back spot now. If you remember, Ronkin, John Carlos Van Ronkin was the guy subbed out in exchange for Diego Valeri. Valeri is very much a center midfielder. So had to make a shift. That could be an advantage to exploit for New York City FC, as Moreno more of an attack-minded winger. But we've seen it happen. Lucas Vasquez for Real Madrid is a guy who has played more as an attack-minded player. And he has gone down to the fullback spot many a time for Los Blancos. And a late game hero is going to be substituted in for New York City FC. He won things in the Eastern Conference Finals for New York City. Thais Magno, a 19-year-old Brazilian, 17th highest transfer fee in MLS history, will be replacing Jesus Medina on that right side. Magno has only played about 39 minutes in the postseason, but he has a crucial goal. Without Magno, NYCFC would not be here. As the ball is going to roll out of bounds for a goal kick for Steve Clark. That Timbers crowd getting much louder here in extra time. This is where they want their home field advantage to come into play. Magno dispossessing Paredes. Now Chanel. Tavon Gray, another homegrown guy for New York City FC. And here's Tajuri Shradi breaking away from his defender, Bravo. But Bravo gets back, recovers. A collision between Tajuri Shradi and Chara. No foul called. Bravo retakes possession for the Timbers. Now Yimi Chara. Yimi Chara in the middle of the park. Zuparic sending it back to his keeper, Clark. Sent forward, headed away by Collins. Tajuri Shradi getting very aggressive from that wing point. He's now moved to the right side. Magno on the left. Same formation still for NYCFC. Defenders pushed a bit further forward. Valeri sending it into Mora. He is taken out from behind by Sands. No foul called. Chanot knocks Mora down. Here's another chance. Niezgoda. NYC fighting in the middle of the park. Chanot finally clears it. And now Thales Magno has it. He's knocked down by Jimmy Chara. And it's Moreno with it now. And a foul called against New York City FC. I think it was Magno who got too physical. Castellanos, who has been chirping all day long, he wanted the foul going the other way. Some aggressive plays from Portland. As Niezgoda, a great dispossession by Malte Amundsen, who had played almost every minute of the playoffs until he was not included in Ronnie Dahlia's starting lineup. Here come the Timbers now. Niezgoda with it. And we are going to welcome in Brian McLaughlin.
What's up, Josh?
Coming back. How you doing, Brian? You came at a really good time. It is just getting exciting here as the Timbers trying to send in a potential goal, but it's knocked away by Chanot, and it's cleared away by Sands now. Welcome back, Brian. Good to have you back.
Thanks, Josh. Great job holding it down here. We have a couple comments here, too, which is great. A lot of correspondence. So thank you, Sam Walsh, MLS fan from Ireland. I'm related to the Walshes in Connemara, so if that's your family, then we could be related. But anyways, Josh, fantastic job. This game has been tremendous. Ultimately, this is exactly what we're hoping for. Great match for MLS, great match for both fan bases. Let's see what's going to happen here in the final 30 minutes or so.
And it was Christian Paredes who had a chance on the net from a long free kick coming in, but that one hit just a fat part of his foot, launched over the net, just over the head of Maxime Chanot, who was being knocked down by Mabiala. A little domino effect there. No fouls called inside for Portland. NYC taking it slower. I think they took it a bit too slow at the end of that second half, and that was part of the reason I think the Timbers were able to get that late equalizer.
It seems like Josh are playing too much on their back foot, trying to play defensively, not really pushing like we typically see with NYCFC, shifting their game plan late in the match. Typically can work, but against a tough Portland offense, as we've seen them, especially led by the Chara brothers, and then just the inclusions coming in as substitutes, tough to stop Portland at the end, and bringing up Clark definitely add an extra man.
And it was those substitutes who did prove crucial. Niezgoda was one of the key factors that ended up in Felipe Mora finally getting his goal. And I think we're going to have another substitute for Portland. Marvin Loria, the Costa Rican international, is getting ready for Portland on the bench. And I think they get an extra substitution for extra time, so they still have one left. NYCFC with 4. And here comes Niezgoda down the left side. It's been all Portland in this extra time period. Yimi Chara sending it towards the center. Long distance shot from Valeri, but over the net. And how special would it be for Portland if it's Diego Valeri who ends up getting the go-ahead goal?
Well, Josh, you heard him come in later in the match as a substitute. I was hoping that we would see Diego Valeri. We did see him today, as we discussed in the pre-match, a little bit later, but better late than never, and almost ends up with a long distance shot there for Valeri.
It's going to be a souvenir for a fan, but Portland, certainly that's a guy that they need to get involved. As we've been saying all broadcast long, Valeri has many a time been a hero for the Timbers. He's got 4 minutes left of this first extra time period, still another 15-minute set before we go to penalties if necessary. And Valeri getting aggressive now, sending it down the wing for Mora. Mora looking for the low cross, deflected away, and a diving tackle from Malte Amundsen. Castellanos aggressive on defense now.
Josh, if I might add that late in the match here, being at Providence Park definitely plays in the Portland's favor. Home team here with Providence Park. We're absolutely rocking.
And this is a lot of people were talking about the home field advantage that Portland would have for the first time in their MLS Cup Final history. And this is where it plays more than ever. And I have the ABC screen muted on my computer, but I could still hear the Timber crowd roaring after that Mora goal.
We heard the final 10 minutes of that match. I was able to get home and catch it. Josh, I was watching remotely, and it was absolutely blistering, the noise coming through the TV. So hopefully my neighbors in my apartment weren't complaining.
Well, that is the kind of things you want at a match of this magnitude, as Magno, surrounded by 3 Timber defenders, loses possession to Mabiala, sends it back to Clark, who was pushing a bit higher off his line, becoming a part of the clearance with 2 minutes left in this first period of extra time.
And Sam, I want to thank you for that comment. We recently added Josh to the team, and I think he's doing a great job today. So I'm glad that we have people here recognizing it. Josh, you've been great all match long.
Really appreciate the support from all of you guys. Hopefully you'll like, subscribe for many more content. I am not going anywhere. Definitely enjoying being a part of this state of soccer team. A great operation you got going here, Brian. I'm happy to be a part of it.
It's a one-man operation, grew to 2-man, so good to have you aboard.
Yes, sir. Playing it out the back now is Portland as the center back partnership of Zuparic and Mabiala, passing it back and forth. Mabiala controlling.
It's very tough to control the ball here in these conditions. About 45 degrees and rainy, very slick on the field. So both teams have done a relatively good job all game long, I must add. And
the rain has dissipated quite a bit. It kind of stopped after that Mora goal, it seems like, but it's not like you can just mop up the big turf pitch. And it is still quite slick at Providence Park as Valeri throws it in. He's going to get the back pass from Niezgoda. 2-on-1, Valeri to Niezgoda. Valeri to Mora. Knocked away. Maxime Chanot, strong in the center. Bravo sends it back. And now here comes Talis Magno trying to clear it, trying to break ahead. And it's Yimi Chara who chips him up a couple of steps before the center circle. No card will be pulled, but a foul called on Yimi Chara, the 23-year-old Colombian international, with a minute remaining in the first period of extra time.
Tamale Killer to add, we will be here all qualifiers long. We'll come to you guys for the next 3 qualifiers as well, and into the future here for live coverage of every USMNT and big match, US soccer related.
I'm just ready to call those Kristen Pulisic worldies, man. I've been doing that on my couch for years now.
Well, now you can do it for real. You're on state of soccer.
Yeah. 30 seconds left in this first period. Not a lot of chances on net. NYC doesn't even have a shot in the past probably about 40 minutes, including the second half. Really quiet performance from City, but they're pushing forward. Here's Tavon Gray. I know he feels responsible for that equalizing goal. Diego Chara takes it away, and a foul called. It might have been offsides, and the referee's going to raise the flag, and the offside flag goes up on the homegrown 19-year-old Bronx native, Tavon Gray, and that will do it for the first period of this extra time. No shots in extra time so far for New York City FC. A couple going wide for Portland. But what are your thoughts on this first part of extra time? We're going to keep it right here after it has been a Timber-dominated performance.
I think it's been a Timber-dominated performance, but I think right now it's in NYCFC's best interest to keep playing somewhat defensively. I wouldn't say completely park the bus. They have the quality, the talent to push forward, but at the same time right now, it's going to come down to coaching tactics. It's going to come down to how much these guys want it. And if we ultimately see a Johnson versus Clark showdown in penalties, both goalkeepers are relatively equal, right? We see Johnson here with the U.S. men's national team as a third keeper, but don't count Clark out, especially in front of a Timbers army. So if it does go to penalties, we're also in for a show. Really excited, Josh, for these final 15 minutes. Looking forward to it.
And Brian, your cousin is still watching on here. Good to see Sam Walsh staying involved with the comments here. We'll definitely be on for the qualifiers, so I'm definitely excited to bring that. But another 15 minutes of MLS Cup action. And what are you looking to see from Portland in the second half? You talked about how NYCFC needs to stay defensive, but kind of push a bit more. Portland seems to be on the good foot right now.
If I'm Portland, I stay out on the front foot. I think they ultimately are controlling the midfield still. Diego Valeri, despite his age, is exactly the type of guy that you want here. So for Giovanni Savarese to kind of hold him until probably the 88th minute, 89th minute, he still has a lot of energy to give here in these final 15 minutes and then into penalties, right? He's a guy with a lot of class, a guy with the ability to turn a game on its head. So having Diego out there as a captain, more or less, for Portland is going to be huge. The Chara brothers, of course, and then Clark kind of captaining from the back there between the goalposts, someone who I would count on to kind of keep that defensive in shape in case New York City FC gets on the front foot.
And Diego Chara has the captain's armband now, but if you're watching on ABC, you see some fans waving a flag with a picture of Diego Valeri marked El Rey, which if you don't speak Spanish, El Rey means the king. So you got the captain and the king on the pitch for Portland as they look to continue their momentum. They certainly have a large chunk of it as NYCFC kicks off to start possession for the final 15 minutes of action until we get penalties. Well, hopefully, because who doesn't love a penalty kick shootout in the MLS Cup Final?
That's exactly right, Josh. If it goes to penalties, we're on for a show regardless. But if it goes to penalties, I can't remember the last MLS Cup final that was decided by penalties. Might have been that Toronto final, but I could be wrong.
I believe you're right, and our crack research team, a.k.a. me on Wikipedia, is looking that up right now, and you're right. It was Toronto's championship-winning team in 2016, outlasting Seattle Sounders in a scoreless draw for the first 120 minutes, and it was the Canadian side who won their first MLS Cup on a 5-4 penalty kick decision. Keep in mind,
Googling, Josh, very quick on your part.
Not my first time. The key to broadcasting is Googling quickly while still paying attention to the game.
True pro.
Here's a chance for Tati Castellanos. He's quickly met by Zuparic and a decisive header. The last guy you want in a one-on-one situation with the keeper is Tati Castellanos. Now Valeri pushing it forward, swarmed by City defenders, spinning around sand, sends a chip that rolls right into Sean Johnson, who will corral it. And Diego Valeri, you really have just seen every part of this midfield. Just the presence is so much more enhanced with Diego Valeri in the middle of the park in these last 17 or so minutes.
He's completely taken control, and that's what he's all about. That's why he's there. That's why Portland still has him around. And to bring a guy like Diego Valeri off the bench, that's why they're in the final as a 4 seed and they have a great chance of ending it here 2-1 in the last 15 minutes. And
it might even be the play of the game, the substitution, putting Valeri in. That just changed. It sped up the passing so much for a quick strike Timbers team in those final 6 minutes of regulation, including extra time. And it has made a world of difference in extra time. And it has been almost entirely controlled by the Timbers. NYC hasn't even been able to get possession in their attacking third so far.
And one thing I'm seeing, Josh, around the park here in Portland is not just the Timbers Army who are singing out. You're seeing, movement all around the stadium. People are getting fidgeting. They're fidgeting in the stands. It's getting really exciting here in Portland, in Providence Park.
Oh, I'm fidgeting in my seat. You only see the top half on camera, but I am. It is a nerve-wracking game, and as you should expect in the second period of an extra time.
That's exactly right. And this is all we could hope for here for MLS Cup Final 2021.
And it was said earlier in the broadcast by Tamale Killer that this is the best possible outcome for the MLS, that it is in extra time in the final here. And I could not agree more. It's been a dominated extra time by the Timbers, but an exciting one, no less.
Excited to see here the last 12 minutes or so, Josh, how Ronnie Dahlia kind of tunes into this match as far as the adjustments he makes. Obviously, the he's Scandinavian, but being Celtics coach, winning a couple of championships, Scottish League, as well as in Scandinavia, I believe in Denmark. He won a title there. Excited to see what type of adjustments he makes tactically.
And Norway, Denmark, Scotland, everywhere he's gone, Ronnie Dahlia has won a title. He said it would be one of the biggest achievements of his career if he were to repeat that feat in his second season with New York City FC. It's still in Timber control. NYC getting a chance at attack, but Yimi Chara going 1-2 with Valeri, and now it's in City control. Tajuri Shradi speeding down the right side, cutting towards the middle. Diego Chara defense, and he's stiff-armed down by Tajuri Shradi, trying to get loose, and that was a foul of frustration for the Libyan international.
This is all adrenaline right now, Josh. You can see these guys, despite how tired they are, they're still moving, right? And there's still slide tackles left to right, all the adrenaline kicking in here to make it an exciting last 10 minutes.
And it is within the final 10 minutes, 11 minutes remaining in this extra time. Morales setting it to Tavon Gray, who's been pushing up more and more from that right back spot. And if you're watching on ABC, you see the center backs are way back and the right backs are almost playing as the full backs are almost playing as wing backs for New York City FC. That's really when they kind of springboard their attack. That's been part of this team since the inaugural season.
Interesting for Ronnie Dahlia to have his wing backs all the way up right now, more of an attacking mode, Josh. That shows me that he's confident with this NYCFC team on the front foot, and he's by no means playing defensively, which is a different approach than I expected from New York City Football Club.
And with the aggression that the Timbers have shown, NYC trying to stay aggressive, but the ball playing back now with Sean Johnson, passes it to Collins, sends it over the middle of the park to Alfredo Morales. Now Amundsen, who's playing more as a central defensive midfielder. Kind of switching up the formation a little bit. And Amundsen sends it forward to Talles Magno. Trickles forward back to Amundsen. Now Morales.
Josh, you got yourself quite the fan club here in the comments between Sam Walsh and Tamale Killer.
Really appreciate you guys.
Pension plan and everything.
Really appreciate the love from you guys. I'll be back for plenty more of these broadcasts, so just stay tuned, like, subscribe. Plenty more content coming from State of Soccer and from myself on behalf of them.
And guys, follow Josh on Twitter as well. So check out his personal profile if you want to follow the career of Josh Sperber. We're lucky to have him here at State of Soccer.
Maxi Morales to Magno in the center. Magno trying to deke out Mabiala. And here comes a chance. Tajuri Shradi on the right wing. Sends it forward off the fists of Clark, and it's cleared away by Mabiala and the Timbers. But Portland not stopping. Numbers back for New York City. Mora taken down. Play on called. Valeri sends it to the side. Paredes saved by Johnson.
That's why you have big players at big time, Josh. Yeah, great save by Johnson as well. Diving to his right side off the end of his fingertips.
And an offsides called against Niezgoda, and they're showing a replay of that Sean Johnson save. A bang-bang counterattack. The referee has controlled this game so well. Valeri almost had a decisive assist. And a curler from Paredes, but Sean Johnson, the best part of his goalkeeping is his positioning. And it is shown right there. Diving stop, not even the fingertips. Palms on that ball, deflecting that away from goal.
And all players for New York are deserve it if they end up winning this MLS Cup. But Sean Johnson, the guy who's been with this team, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, potentially the longest out of anywhere out there right now in the starting 11, a guy who's been with NYCFC for quite some time, very deserving of this MLS Cup final.
The longest tenured New York City FC players are all on defense. The two center backs and Johnson made their city debuts in the 2017 season, and that is when their run of playoffs have started. Since 2017, NYCFC has made the playoffs every single season, and that is a big part due to the goalkeeping of Sean Johnson and his partnership with the two center backs, Maxime Chanot and Alex Collins, who have rarely missed a match in the center of that city defense.
And that's how you grow a league, Josh. Have players plugged in, playing for a team for a long time, dedicated to their specific clubs. And MLS does a great job in giving back to the players, giving them a place to play. And it's a great league to play in. So you'll see a lot more players staying over here in MLS if they make the move.
And Maxime Chanot, Alex Collins, both those guys, Johnson included, they have seen their national team status grow from their time at New York City FC. Alex Collins and Maxime Chanot now starters on their respective national teams, Peru and Luxembourg, and Sean Johnson on pretty much every USA national team roster since his inclusion as a starter with New York City FC.
Yep, quite a great third keeper the U.S. men's national team has here in Sean Johnson, a guy who could potentially grab his first ever MLS Cup Final today.
And whatever way you slice it, a U.S. goalkeeper will win the MLS Cup. Steve Clark, a U.S. international, no appearances on the national team for him, but part of that is because he spent most of his career behind Tim Howards and Brad Guzans.
Yeah, Josh, U.S., Sam Walsh is joining us over from Ireland. We have potentially a couple other individuals, but the United States is known for its goalkeeping, always has been. So it's such a deep pool of players. Gabriel Solina for Chicago Fire is another guy that recently got called up. Excited to see him this upcoming friendly. Tons and tons of goalkeepers across American soccer making their impression, making themselves known.
And it's the Argentinians that New York City is trying to spring forward as Amundsen sent it to Tati Castellanos, and it's deflected for the first corner kick of extra time. Maxi Morales will stand over what will be an outswinging ball as NYC has their best chance potentially on net in this extra time period. NYC flinging just about everybody forward. Tajori Trotti looks like he's coming close for a potential short corner.
Ronnie Dalio really sending his players in full force here to get the winner before the final whistle. So not the type of game plan I
Morales,
expected.
outswinging ball headed away by Mabiala. Nothing doing there as Tavon Gray sends that way over the timber net for a goal kick. And there's really no choice but to do that. That last corner kick in about the 92nd minute, Steve Clark went forward for Portland. It's that time. It is do or die time in the MLS Cup right now. 4 minutes remaining in extra time before potential penalty kicks.
That's why it really benefits a team to have a player that can play out of the back, a player that can play with his feet at the goalkeeper position. Both these guys are decent at it. Steve Clark might be a little bit better than Johnson. I could be wrong, but at the same time, it could come in handy.
Johnson, one of the more conservative keepers, as Moreno sends a shot. Looked a little bit easier than it was. A diving stop from Sean Johnson. That one almost found the back right corner from Santiago Moreno. Sneaky from distance, but no trouble for Johnson, as Gio Savarese getting very active on the Timber sidelines.
And Josh, this stream is going on almost 3 hours and 10 minutes. Might be the longest stream in state of soccer history, potentially next to that Nations League final, USA versus Mexico. So we're approaching record state of soccer timeline as well.
Hey, if you can be mentioned in the same cup as that Nations Cup final, that's one of the best soccer matches I think I've ever seen.
Well, one of the best of all time.
And NYCFC playing conservatively. They like to play out of the back. Collins to Johnson, now to Gray. The Timbers pressuring. Yimi Chara is really the focal point on that. Amundsen sends it forward. Chipped ahead for Tajuri Shradi, and it's going to go all the way back to Steve Clark, who's going to boot it with 3 minutes left in extra time. Gray controls. Gray and Chanel. NYC not trying to do too much, but Portland keeping the pressure on the MLS final newcomers.
It is so important that both teams in the midfield here control the ball and don't have any silly giveaways, because that could end both of their potential championship bids here in quite some in a second or two.
And we almost saw that happen in the attacking third for Portland. Alex Collins rushed Yimi Chara as Collins sends it forward, looking for Castellanos. Magno running forward. And luckily for Maxime Chanot, that saved what could have been a crucial equalizer in about the 79th minute for Portland. And that could have been the game, given the 94-minute equalizer.
Very true, Josh. Give credit where credit is due here. I think your remarks opening this match about how deep NYCFC's team is definitely showing here late in this match, how much quality they have on the ball and how they're really dictating this end of this game here.
And they've only put 3 substitutes on the pitch. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be subbing anytime soon. NYC in control, but not putting much in the attacking third. Portland laid back on their defense, just kind of playing prevent defense. Different way from American football, but still holds true nonetheless. Amundsen fighting with Moreno. And now it goes to Alfredo Morales. To the other Morales, Maxi, the little magician, looking for the cross. Castellanos on the header. It's deflected away. And that's Tajuri Shradi. Tajuri Shradi fighting with Chara, upset with the referee as Yimi Chara going to ground. And Tajuri Shradi has had about his fill with the Chara brothers so far in this match.
And Josh, you mentioned Maxi Morales. That's what he can do. He's kind of a little bit of a pest there in the final third. And the magician, a guy that can create a goal in his second. And NYCFC is lucky to have him in the final third here in the dying minutes.
I think it's just natural to call, talented Argentinian attacking players magicians. You certainly hear it said about Lionel Messi, Angel Di Maria, even at some points. And I enjoy the NYCFC color commentator on Yes Network has been calling Maxi the little magician since day one, and it's certainly accurate.
That's fantastic. Definitely one of the key players for New York City Football Club out there.
Has been since that 2017 season. Amundsen has it taken away from him. Really one last gasp for either side. No foul called there on Collins. And we got 10 seconds remaining in extra time before we hit PKs. Magno trying to start something for City. He's got a game winner of this playoffs already. Cross from Amundsen, but too long for Castellanos. And Tajuri Shradi has it taken away. We're past minute 120. Collapsing to the floor is Diego Chara and Yemi Chara, the brothers all out for their Portland Timbers FC. And we are going to penalty kicks. A tired 2 teams. We are all knotted up after 120 minutes, and this year's MLS Cup Final will end on PKs, and that's exactly what we want to see.
That's what we want to see, Josh. It is going to PKs the first time since that 2016, I believe, Toronto versus Seattle final. So excited here to see the quality of these players come out. Both teams certainly have the quality, domestic players, Argentinian players, Colombian players, you name it, they're out there in force today for both sides. We'll see what happens here in the penalties.
And listen to Tamale Killer, hit that like button, and get ready for penalty kicks. Live showing of the MLS Cup. We're going to keep it right here. This is the first time that Portland has been in PKs in the playoffs this season. This is the second showing for NYCFC in MLS Cup playoffs. A great match against the Supporter Shield winners where they won that by a score of 5-3. So NYC is yet to miss a PK in this postseason.
Josh, I was going to ask you that. From an NYCFC perspective, who do you expect here to kind of take the reins and be that guy who wants to grab that ball and then set the first shot in for NYCFC?
Well, just by the way this game is going, it's going to be Tati Castellanos, and that's how NYCFC kind of focuses. They front load their PKs. It was Alex Collins, the defender, who scored the match winner against the New England Revolution, and that's a center back going 5th. The NYC is going to get Maxi Morales and Tati Castellanos probably reversing in that order, going in their first 2. I'd imagine Ishmael Tajuri Shradi is going to be 3rd, then maybe Magno, and then they might give it to Collins or Chanot. Maybe you put the center backs in the last two because Chanot and Collins are both pretty accomplished penalty kick takers. For Portland, I just want to see Valeri as their fifth penalty kick taker, but I'm not sure how Savarese is going to organize that.
I think that's ultimately what he'll do. You have both Chara brothers out there. You have Bravo. Of course, a lot of key players for Portland still on the field today for both teams. So it's going to be close here. I don't think we're going to see a repeat Nashville SC versus the Philadelphia Union, where Nashville duffed every single penalty. And obviously Andre Blake came up huge. I think both of these teams are going to put in quality PK shots. That's what I'm expecting here.
Now, do you expect this PK final to go more than 5 turns per team? Or is it going to be done in the first 10?
It could go more than 5 turns. I remember a while back watching Real Salt Lake. I believe that was like the 2009 MLS Cup Final, Josh. One of the first MLS Cup Finals that I tuned into against the LA Galaxy. They won that match, and that went multiple rounds, I believe. So I'm hoping it's something like that here 12 years on later. But this is bound to be a classic in a league that is really only 26 years old, right? So it's a classic match here in the final.
And the drums are pounding. The fans are doing their version of the chop as 2 experienced American goalkeepers are getting ready to save penalty kicks. It'll be Steve Clark of the Timbers in the net first. So Portland may have the last word here on their home stadium, and that is going to be huge.
And Steve Clark is smiling in goal, kind of reminiscent. He looks a lot like Daniel Craig, Josh. I'm noticing that now for the first time.
I can see that.
Maybe James Bond-esque coming up here. Let's see what's done.
He's going to need some secret agent stuff with Tati Castellanos stepping up to the line. Castellanos already getting the better of him early on. That goal from Castellanos, Clark got a hand on. We'll need a lot more than that as the first penalty kick is ready to go. Castellanos sets up, takes his steps back, sends it forward, slots it in the bottom left corner. First penalty kick goal for New York City FC.
And Josh, Clark guessed right, dove to the right side, but unfortunately Castellanos with too much pace to that bottom left corner there, sneaks it by the Portland goalie. 1-0 on New York City FC for PKs here.
And you saw Clark kind of jumped a little bit prematurely, and that slowed him up a bit. He knew Castellanos was going to that left side, or to Clark's right side, Castellanos is left. And now the other striker, Felipe Mora, will try and start things off for the Timbers. Sean Johnson, 2 PK saves in the spot, guesses right, and saves! What a start for Sean Johnson, and New York City FC has the early advantage.
Sean Johnson might have the longest arms in all of MLS, Josh. So, I mean, you saw him right there extending to his right side, saving the ball against Mora, and looks like Portland is down 1-0 on PKs.
And that's the difference. You saw on the replay, if you're watching, Clark jumped to his right first. Johnson did not. Johnson a bit more patient. Clark maybe a bit anxious. And now it is Alfredo Morales who is ready to send a shot. The defensive midfielder in his first season with New York City FC. Morales stutters. Clark guesses right. And another save. Back-to-back stops from the keepers. And Steve Clark gets it back for Portland.
Steve Clark, a.k.a. the secret agent, Daniel Craig lookalike, diving to his left side and running into the corner to celebrate with the Timbers Army.
Daniel Craig might not be doing any James Bond movies, but I think he's got another job as the Timbers goalkeeper. A huge stop for Steve Clark and the Timbers. And now it's Diego Valeri going second to try and tie things up. And Sean Johnson again! Oh my goodness! He will not guess wrong. 2 huge saves. And Sean Johnson keeps NYC ahead.
Club legend here for New York City Football Club, playing with them since 2017. Sean Johnson making another incredible save, the second save of these PKs.
And there were 2 pretty forgettable goalies in the 2 seasons before Sean Johnson. And the NYC fans are going to want him to play until he's in his 80s. Especially given how this PK shootout has gone. He has faced now 7 shots on penalty kicks and stopped 4 of them in the MLS Cup playoffs. Now Maxi Morales looking to give a decisive advantage, and Clark guesses wrong. For the first time, someone goes to the goalie's left, and Maxi Morales gives a 2-0 advantage to NYCFC.
Both keepers are on here, Josh, guessing right, but right there, Clark goes right, and Morales goes the opposite end, left of Clark for the quick goal.
Of the first 5 PKs, 4 of them went to the goalie's right side. Maxi Morales, $5 million man, has experience at this level in the Mexican League, in Serie A, in the Club World Cups, under 20 World Cups. And he does it. 2-0 on PKs for NYC.
I'm getting nervous
Santiago
here, Josh.
Moreno. Johnson guesses wrong again. Moreno, a bullet, drilling it into the bottom left corner. And it's 2-1 on PKs for NYCFC.
So Portland lives to see another day. Die another day there, Mr. Clark. You're still alive here in the PKs.
You can't save them all, but Sean Johnson has still stopped 50% of the PKs he's saved in the MLS Cup playoffs so far. Truly incredible performance. There's that hunger from NYC. And now stepping up, the match winner in the conference finals, 19-year-old Thales Magno. Magno gets it past Clark underneath the hands, and NYCFC is that much closer to a cup victory.
NYCFC slots it past once more. I believe if Portland misses here, it's all over.
And it could come down to Sean Johnson. The fans, hands clasped in prayer, chopping away, trying to will their team to victory as the substitute Christian Paredes trying to even things up. He almost had a goal, was denied by Sean Johnson, and he'll try again. Johnson guesses right. Paredes slots it right past him. It's 3-2.
And that's some quality, Josh. We haven't seen right down the middle right there, but Paredes shoots it hard and low, straight down the middle, past the diving Johnson.
It's what I like to call a bullet Panenka. You guess that the keeper's going to guess.
Exactly.
The Timbers missed their first 2, made their next 2, and now Alex Collins, who made the match-winning PK in the conference semifinals to take down the Supporters Shield champions.
And if NYCFC scores this one here, it's all over.
Collins has the chance to win another one. Alex Collins, the Iron Man. He does it! The first final, the first win, the first MLS Cup for New York City FC.
NYCFC with the MLS Cup here. Class on the field, outweighing Portland late in the match to get their first title.
And the coaches crying. I'm crying. What a win for New York City FC. The watch party, Hammerstein Ballroom, is going absolutely insane right now. And New York, as a city, has won their first title in 9 years, thanks to New York City FC, Sean Johnson, and Alexander Collins, the heroes.
Well deserved for NYCFC to go to Portland, to go to Providence Park, to pass Philadelphia Union in that Eastern Conference final, and to beat Portland at home. This is quite a remarkable statement and showing for New York City Football Club here.
This is just the 7th season for New York City FC. They came, their first season was the 2014-2015 MLS season. And so soon that expansion team to be eclipsed only by Atlanta in their 2018 victory over these Timbers. 2 of the most recent expansions club in MLS cities are 2 of the most recent champions against the Portland Timbers. What a match that was.
And Josh, you could certainly say Ace Burb said it best. MLS is blue. It's certainly not red today. I hate to say it for those New York Red Bulls, Metro Stars fans going way back, but NYCFC has a cup before you. It's brutal. It is what it is. And MLS is blue right now. He's exactly right.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And New York City FC with an historic victory over the Portland Timbers. Really appreciate you guys following all the way along. And Brian, you kind of caught on to this at a good time, an exciting, well-contested extra time. And then, of course, the penalty kicks to finish this off.
No, it's been a pleasure joining Josh here at the final dying minutes of the match. An MLS Cup final that is one of the more memorable ones, you know, thinking back to recent history. So it's been a lot of fun today.
It certainly has. And 2-1, 1-1, I guess 2-1 the final on penalty kicks. A center back with 2 decisive goals in the MLS Cup Finals. That is not something you see every playoffs.
That is not something you see every playoff. So, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this live broadcast of the MLS Cup Final. Josh, it's been so much fun. I'm glad I could join you for the dying minutes. We're at 3 hours, just about 3 hours and 30 minutes. It's the longest broadcast in the history of state of soccer. So you certainly have gotten your money's worth with Josh here as the broadcaster. Great job today, Josh.
Really appreciate you, Brian. I'm happy to be part of the team and excited to call a lot more of these with you, my man.
Me too, Josh. And NYCFC fans are absolutely celebrating the pocket of them that are in Providence Park right now on live television. Ronnie Dahlia was crying. You could see the emotion pouring down his face, taking the step, coming over here to coach in North America, to coach in MLS, and it's paid off for him.
And it certainly has. He said that it would be one of his biggest achievements winning an MLS Cup here with New York City FC, and Ronnie Dahlia has won everywhere he has gone. A huge victory for him, a huge victory for New York City FC, a huge victory for just the state of New York.
That's exactly right, Josh. And we'll hang out here, guys, for about another 5 minutes. I want to hear more of Josh's closing comments. I want to hear from you guys as well. Hear a quick post-game show, and then we'll be signing off here live from State of Soccer. So leave in the comments below what you thought of this final. Was it your favorite in recent memory?
And it certainly was mine. I'm not biased at all because I could take this computer into my room right now and show that NYCFC staff scarf from my time there. And it's certainly an emotional moment for me. I know that New York is going nuts, and 161st Street by Yankee Stadium is about to be a party right now.
Well, Josh, I'm about an hour and a half drive from New York, so I'm gonna have to make my way up there tonight and party with the fans. Being a Philadelphia Union fan, that might be tough, so I probably won't be doing that. But I'm very tempted right now because I know New York is definitely blue tonight. The Empire State Building will be lighting up blue, and it's an exciting moment for this club.
Yeah, I might have to fly back from Indiana to go see that. I'm not even going to lie. But it was a very exciting game. We'll take a quick recap before we delve into the final thoughts. Both goals in this match came very late, starting with New York City FC getting the opening goal late in the first half. The classic connection, as they have done for so many times this season, Maxi Morales to Tati Castellanos in the 40th minute, getting the first goal of the match.
And that's exactly right there. Castellanos with the first goal of the match and kind of setting it straight that NYCFC came to play at Providence Park early on. Best case scenario for NYCFC. And they rode that through the duration of the game, didn't they, Josh?
They really did. They did not let the crowd affect them. A loud crowd, a slick field, different conditions that they're used to, a different type of field. It's grass on Yankee Stadium. And it just was not, the NYCFC did not let it affect them. They controlled the game for probably the first 2/3 of the contest, but then the Portland Timbers really stepped up their aggression.
Not what most fans expected going in today's match. I got to say, even myself, I was kind of duped here. Just seeing NYCFC control the flow of the match, the game plan that Ronnie put out there as a manager definitely worked today. I believe he outcoached Giovanni Savarese. I'm not really surprised by that. I mean, Savarese is a great coach, but we've seen Ronnie do it at the highest levels of the game here in Europe and now here in MLS.
And Savarese still had some great coaching moves to be made. One of the best was putting on Diego Valeri, the hero for Portland on so many different occasions in the 88th minute. And that really sparked the push in the final 7 minutes for Portland Timbers.
I was surprised to see NYCFC so confident, not necessarily confident, but still on that attacking foot late into the match there, not really hanging it back. You saw the confidence they had in penalties. I certainly thought that both teams were evenly matched. We saw quality penalties there. Both goalkeepers came ready to play in the penalty shootout. But at the end of the day, NYCFC got the job done.
But they almost did not get there. It was in the 94th minute, 5 seconds before the final whistle would have blown for a 1-0 finish. And Felipe Mora finally got his goal off a deflection, sliding it into the back right corner. And after that, Providence Park just exploded.
Absolutely exploded. You saw the fans going wild around the entire park. The converted old baseball stadium to what it is today, one of the more unique stadiums and atmospheres in all of MLS. And you saw the fans living up to their reputation, really digging in and getting loud.
And they stayed loud through all of the extra times. Portland really controlled that. It was pretty back and forth, but we talked about those penalty kicks. Goalkeeping came up big. Sean Johnson has saved half of the penalties he saw in the MLS Cup playoffs.
And that's quite remarkable there. I thought that Andre Blake was the best keeper in these MLS Cup playoffs, but you might have to tip your hats off to Sean Johnson for dethroning him for this year's MLS Cup playoffs, and specifically for his performance in the final. Does this make him go down as a club legend, Josh? We can talk about that later, but certainly I think it does.
I think he was already a club legend, the clear choice for captain after David Villa left. And there was not even a debate. Chanot, Collins, they had been there a lot, but Sean Johnson has been a proven leader and just an all-around great guy in the locker room, with the fans, with everything. Sean Johnson embodies what the culture of NYCFC is.
And that's great to hear. NYCFC has a great keeper in Sean Johnson, I believe, for many years to come. We'll see how this exact team sticks around. A lot of marquee players getting attention globally for their play with NYCFC and being part of the City Football Group. Some players might get promotions elsewhere. So we'll see, Josh, how if this team sticks together, because they could win and dominate for the next couple of years.
They could, and the guy that I've heard the most in terms of transfer rumors is the Paraguayan international Jesus Medina. Really had a bounce back season. He was a couple $1 million man, around $4 million transfer in 2018. Had a great rookie season with New York City FC. Then kind of fell off a little bit. He wasn't as consistent getting to the goals, struggled with injuries. This year, a resurgent season with 9 goals and 4 assists. And defensively, he was great for New York City in the playoffs. He is getting noticed by a couple of high-level Brazilian teams right now.
Sure, Josh. And to mention a Brazilian player that played well today and also slotted in a PK is Thales Magno, the guy who got the Eastern Conference final goal to push NYCFC to the final. Another Brazilian young attack-minded player who was big transfer in for NYCFC. Didn't get as much playing time as fans expected, but a guy next year I expect to get more playing time and to show his true worth. So I'm looking forward to Thales Magno next year for NYCFC.
And this is Magno's first or second pro season. So he's a guy who's the only direction he can go is up. 19 years old, one of the youngest guys on the pitch today, already an MLS Cup champion, and he is a big part of that. And he can play all around the attack for Brazil and for New York City FC, both wings. He could even be converted to a striker or center forward if need be. A very exciting prospect for New York City FC.
And one thing I want to mention is, we have a lot of Brazilian fans in our chat here. Well, here we go. PJX Games. I saw a couple of other individuals tuning in from Brazil. Just goes to show, Josh, that when you bring Brazilian players in, they play all around the world. The fans follow. So more fan base growing around the globe for both teams, especially NYCFC.
Yeah, a lot more Brazilian talent on New York City FC, especially when you're talking about a guy you didn't see in the final, Thiago Andrade, who was available but had some injury issues, had been out since September this season in his first full season. And if you're looking for a country with just great soccer prospects, Brazil's the first one you're going to look at.
Brazil, of course, Brazil, Argentina, and even in this match, Colombia. You see the Chara brothers, essentially both from Colombia. A lot of South American representation here in this MLS Cup final, and the game is growing in the United States. Players coming from abroad. We've talked about this day in and day out, and it's so exciting to see this league grow leaps and bounds the way it is. And
American soccer growing. We talked about both American goalies locking horns in that PK shootout, and an American who played a huge impact on today's game that might not show in the stat sheet is James Sands. He has been featured more and more on the U.S. national team, and you saw why in this MLS Cup final. He is a crucial part of the U.S. national team defense now, and it will be for years to come.
And that's exactly right. James Sands is such a versatile player, the ability to play in more of a center back role, the ability to play in a number 6, a guy who has so much confidence, a guy who was his first ever appearance, he subbed on for Andrea Pirlo, an individual that I believe will continue to develop with NYCFC, and the sky's the limit for James Sand, still very, very young.
Yeah, just 23 years old, a homegrown player for New York City FC, from New York, from Rye, actually a town over from me, which is always cool to see, because I didn't realize they had soccer that was that good. But he's just truly an impressive player, and someone that we're going to see in these U.S. qualifiers that are going to be coming up for the World Cup very soon.
And guys, the question was asked earlier, will Josh and I be around for the USMNT World Cup qualifiers? The answer is, if you've been watching State of Soccer, then you know we cover the U.S. men's national team. So make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow us on our journey. Josh will be sticking around for those matches as well. We have El Salvador, Honduras, and Canada. Next 3 matches in January. Josh, I'm looking forward to those, man. I really, really am.
And as a dual citizen, United States and Canada, U.S. and Canada, 1 and 2 in the group right now for their World Cup qualifying bracket. I cannot wait for that matchup.
I did not know you were a dual citizen of Canada. That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking American soccer right now. I figured I'd wait till after the American League season is over to really go towards Canada. But yeah.
And the rumor has it, and they do. Canada has its own league now as well. The Canadian Premier League just finishing up recently. So, Josh, we might be here in the future covering Canadian Premier League finals as well, part of that tremendous North American soccer rivalry that's brewing.
And Canada's got a guy who just tortured New York City FC for the first couple of years. Kyle Larin, a great striker who has played all around the Turkish league. I believe he's still in Besiktas right now, but he has been a high-level player in Europe, and he just absolutely destroyed New York City. He's one guy I'm looking forward to going up against a strong USA defense coming up in the next couple of months.
And that's exactly right, Josh. So much to look forward to in this circuit of U.S. soccer. Tons of matches here as we wind our way into the second half World Cup qualifying into the World Cup next year. I believe both the USA, Canada will definitely qualify. So TBD for that one. But Josh, some final words today, wrapping up NYCFC's first ever MLS Cup championship.
I mean, I think Adam said it best. The MLS is blue, and I think there's really no other way to say it. NYCFC, 1-for-1 in MLS Cup Finals, things that you just love to see. Really happy to be a part of this, and I'm looking forward to more State of Soccer broadcasts with you.
Josh, I really appreciate you joining us today. I can't wait I'm so happy to have you as part of the team. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in today to the super long live stream, but long in a good way, because we went to PKs. We saw a tremendous game, one of the best MLS Cup finals we've seen here. And I'm so happy that you were able to join us for that. So that being said, hit the like, subscribe, tune into future episodes of State of Soccer. This is Brian McDonough signing off. Josh?
I'm going to sign off as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do this for you guys. We appreciate bringing another level of soccer streaming to you guys, the fans of State of Soccer, and we love bringing it to you. Cannot wait to do more later in the month and in the new year. Happy holidays to everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Happy holidays, guys. Enjoy your time with your family, friends. Stay safe. And until next episode, till next time, and like I always say, support your local clubs. Go USMNT. Take care.